Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night. How are you, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to this wonderful show. Wakenya mlio Kenya, shikamo. Wale ambao mko mbali, marahaba. Mko vipi? Hope mko fine. Karibuni sana kwa hii show. Karibuni tu sana. Kenyans from very far, welcome to this show. Kenyans here back at home, karibuni kwa hii show. I have a great one lined up for you. As usual, it's your host and is none other than Jakes, the moderator, and I'm your host for this evening show, and of course, every other night. Asante sana. I'm sure umekuwa ukitegea hii show na time nayo ndo hiyo imefika. Karibu sana, nijuze unapatikana wapi na hii show. Hii show inakupata ukiwa wapi, but zaidi ya yote karibu sana. Welcome to this awesome conversation about to happen here at Afrique 24. Consider subscribing to Afrique 24. Tunayo show moja kale. We have another great debate about to happen here. Tunaangalia disobedience. Ruto has chosen low disobedience of court orders. He has chosen to defy court orders. Where I'm telling you, I'll be telling you more about that even as we go on with this show. What do you make of the recent development? Why, yeah, I'm telling you, in Kenya vitu huwa zinakuwa interesting every other day. Na kuna mtu ametuambia huku nje tuache kubweka bweka. Tumeambiwa tuache kubweka bweka stories za economy. They found empty coffers, dilapidated economy. The stores were empty, nothing was there. Even the rats had vacated. So tumeambiwa hizi stories za economy tuachane nayo. In any case, tuache kubweka bweka. Do you know which animal huwa inabweka? Tumeambiwa tuache kubweka bweka hizi stories za economy. I'll be telling you about that in this bulletin. Equally, one arm of the government has chosen to go to court to sue, or rather to appeal the other a ruling from the other arm of government. And I don't know if that is the mandate of that arm of the government, but we will be talking about that. I'll be getting response kwa hizo story kwa hii show, where I am telling you, it was just the other day, last week, I think Friday, when the courts declared the housing levy unconstitutional, null and void. Okay, and Kenyans were all over celebrating. Even here at the show, I had many celebrating, cheering, and having a party kwa sababu ya the courts ruling. The other thing that was halted was the Haiti deployment. And today the president has said, unajua ni aje, as early as next week, hata si mambo na kungoja appeal nini nini, if some documents kidogo kidogo zitakuwa signed, the matter will be as good as concluded as soon as next week. So we are looking at some of the things that the president has chosen to do. The lands cabinet CS ameamua, unajua ni aje, despite the court order, mjengo inaendelea mbaya sana. No stopping. They are defying even as they are appealing. All right, so thank you for joining us. I see wengi tayari wamejoin. Naona pia Goodia amejaja. Karibu sana kwa hii show. I have an interesting one. I hope this one will really excite you. All right, thank you so much. I hope you are doing well. Asante sana kwa kumake channel hii yetu ya Afrique 24 kuwa nambari moja. All right, we are number one, courtesy of you. Thank you for choosing this show that makes and gives you all the debates and conversations happening in our country and far and beyond. All right, karibuni sana watu wa mbali sana, karibuni watu wa hapa Kenya ndani, karibuni. Sijui uko wapi, uko Moina, uko Ea, karibu. Watu wa Embasava mmejaja, karibuni. Watu ambao mna travel, karibuni sana. Watu wa Isiri, Jericho, karibuni Wase wa Calif Records mko, karibuni sana. Wase wote ambao wanapenda genge, hii ni show yenyu, karibuni. Wase wote ambao wanapenda rumba, wase wazilizopendwa, watu wa zile zama za kale, show yenyu ndo hii. Alright, karibuni sana. Naona tayari mko ndani. Kuna mtu anasema Kenya iko kwa mikono ambayo sio sawa. One of the persons who asked in whose hands are we safe was one Atwoli Francis. And Kenyans wakaamua, Kenyans wakadecide, in the hands of William Ruto we are safe, and tukampa constitution, tukampa the sword, na akaapa nazo akasema, mimi nitatumikia na kulinda hii katiba Mwenyezi Mungu nisaidie. Sasa hiyo katiba kuna venye inamfanya ile kitu, na juu inamfanya ile kitu anataka ku almost operate above it, almost defying the law, defying the court, in any case defying the orders. All right, we'll be looking at that in this bulletin, so kindly join in even as we um take a look at what is happening in our country. All right. Equally, we'll be looking at some of the suggestions made by Azimio today. Azimio leo walikuwa wamekusanyika katika chama cha PNU. You remember PNU? Chama ambacho kilikuwa cha hayati Rais mstaafu Mwai Kibaki. PNU, today they were celebrating, was it 25 or 15 years? I think it should be around there, of existence. So that's what they were doing today, and in attendance was Azimio principals, and they were doing a lot. Okay, so we will be discussing that among many other things. Today, the deputy president was in Masai land, and he made very serious sentiments and statements that have sent tongue waggings all over. People are really aggrieved by what he said. In any case, wamerudia the previous sentiments, the statements ambazo walianza when they joined or came to power. Those are the sentiments wamerudia. Okay, so kuna mtu anasema these people are joking, we will do what we are supposed to do. I wish ungemalizia umeweka hapo alama za dukuduku. What are we supposed to do? Michael Coach hiyo bondo amesema. All right, I see Imoli Brian ako ndani. Asante sana Imoli kwa maoni yako. Tuko nayo show fit, nijuze unatazama ukiwa wapi, na pia maoni yako yanaweza patikana hapo kwa comment section. Tutafurahia sana Let me know what is your take in as far as the president's sentiments this evening are concerned, in as far as what Rigathi Gachagua has said. That name Kikuyu ni ngumu kidogo. Rigathi Gachagua has said today, right? And equally what Raila Odinga has said. So I have a great show for you. Hii ni ile ambao una pause, una relax, alafu tunakuwa na show moja fiti kama pasi. All right, karibu sana, nijuze unatazama ukiwa wapi. This is Africa 24. Hapa ndipo hapa utakuta vitu kali, utapata vitu kali, vitu safi conversations moto, conversations za kupendeza, conversations ambazo zinaambatana na masuala ambayo yana affect nchi yetu. So hapa ndipo, karibu sana Africa 24. Kindly consider subscribing to Africa 24. Wacha hii ikawa show yako, alright? Wacha hii ikawa channel yako nambari moja, channel ambayo umekuja kuienzi, alright? So subscribe, kimbia to YouTube, subscribe to Africa 24. Subscribe wadau, wacha tufanye ile kitu. Let us grow together, alright? We are growing steadily and fast, and it's because of you guys and the love you have shown us. We are so grateful. Asante kwa kusubscribe to Africa 24. Karibuni sana wale ambao wanajiunga nami. Ninayo show fiti, ninayo show kali. Of course, I'll be explaining some of the things ambazo zinapia hapo kwa screen yako. All right? Now, we are a country governed by the rule of law. We are a country that is sovereign, and we have a constitution that governs us. All right? The constitution stipulates how the three arms of government should operate. All right, so all this is not in air. There is a written document that we gave to ourselves. All right, this document called the constitution we gave to ourselves, so that everyone lives by it, not above it, not in disregard about it. In any case, it's not an inconvenience to anyone. You might have opposed it, all right, because it's true. The president, at one point during the clamor for getting a new constitution, he led the team that opposed this constitution. That we remember vividly. But once they lost, it didn't matter whether they agreed with it or not. But the winning side, the ones that said yes to this constitution, carried the day. So that is to say that this constitution works for those who opposed it and those who supported it. So the president had then, I think then he was just a minister. I can't remember properly, but I think, yeah, and he opposed it then. But now he is the president. He has to work with it, whether he likes it, whether he feels that it's you know, uh, 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 something that bothers him, whether it bothers him or not, whether it is an inconvenience or not, he has to work with the constitution. But where, man, oh man, has he chosen not to work above it, to almost in total disregard about it? And equally, that is what has led to many court orders that have told him to his face, this is unconstitutional. Remember the stories, the CISs, there were 50 of them. He had requested for 20 something, akakubaliwa, right? Kidogo kidogo akaona hapana, kama walimkubalia 20 siniongezee, siniongezee niwape 22, let me make it even more interesting, wacha niwafanye from 22 niwachapilie wengine wawe 50 something. And then the courts told him, you know what, Mr. President, that is unconstitutional. Akakuja akataka kuchange stories za maisha namba, huduma namba, nini, akaleta maisha namba, that is stories za ID nini. Ai, Wakenya kumwambia, hey bro, tunakumbuka vile tulifanywa stories za huduma namba. Hii story yako ya maisha namba, So they went to the court. The court wakamwambia, hey, the boss, pause. So that happened, okay? Among many other ways in which the courts have come out to tell him, you must follow the law. The housing levy was not different, all right? There were no laws that were made prior in order to govern this housing levy, and many reasons that the courts were able to cite that this law is unconstitutional, and hence they declared it null and void. But one Moses Masika Wetangula has chosen to go to court, the Supreme Court, and appeal the ruling. Equally, the CS for Land has said hizi stories zitaendelea. Of course, yesterday you saw people demonstrating. Some were arrested. The workers who work in these housing projects that are ongoing. The president has said these will go on. In fact, this is one of the issues that really brought a stiff between him and the courts. So he has come out as someone who, if anything works against him, he has a way. He has a way of finding a way to maneuver around. All right, I don't know what happens from here, but even before I bring in the panelist, I will equally share with you how to join us. Inakuja hapo kwa comment section kupitia links ambazo zinaingia hapo kupitia StreamYard. Hizo ndio links unajiunga nazo hapa kwa show. But before even I bring any person, but I still have them, kina Mr. G wako ndani, allow us to listen to one or two things hapa kwa show, alafu we will be back. All right, now ladies and gentlemen, listen to this.
Our sign language interpreter tonight is Yulan Zali. Now, President William Ruto says his government will still send police officers to Haiti in the United Nations approved security mission. The president says the deployment, blocked by the courts, will continue as soon as Haiti sends a formal request. Last week, the Kenyan High Court declared the planned deployment illegal. Let's begin our broadcast with our very own Brenda Wanga.
Less than a week after the High Court stopped the government's plan to deploy Kenyan police officers to Haiti, President William Ruto now says those plans will still
gave a different option. The court said, okay, don't use the route of the National Security Council going to Parliament and using the route that is given for the military. Use a bilateral route. So the court has suggested that we don't need to go the laborious way. We need simply to have a bilateral agreement between Kenya and Haiti, and that is sufficient for us to deploy our police.
Speaking in Rome, Italy, the president maintained that Kenya can still find a route to carry out what he has previously termed as a mission for humanity. The High Court in its ruling last week stated that the Constitution only allowed members of the Kenya Defence Forces to be deployed outside the country, and that this deployment would only be done through the National Security Council when requested by the United Nations Security Council.
The act of deploying police officers to Haiti is unconstitutional, illegal, and void.
President Ruto, however, says the deployment will ride on the strength of what he says are bilateral relations between Kenya and Haiti.
So we already have a bilateral relations with Haiti. All that needs to be done now is for Haiti to make a request to Kenya, and the mission will go ahead. So that mission can go ahead as soon as next week if all the paperwork is done between Kenya and Haiti on the bilateral route that has been suggested.
Under Kenyan laws, the country's police officers can only be deployed outside the country if that deployment meets the criteria set in 108 and 109 of the National Police Service Act of 2011. The Article 107 states that the president may, on the application of a reciprocating country, order police officers to proceed to that country for service in a temporary emergency. Article 108 further defines a reciprocating country as any country which the president may, being satisfied that the law of that country contains provisions reciprocal to this part, and that Kenya is or shall be declared a reciprocating country for the purposes of those provisions, and by notice in the Gazette, declared to be a reciprocating country for the purposes of this part. President Ruto says Haiti requested Kenya for help months ago, but was now awaiting a formal request. It remains unclear which authority in Haiti will make that request without a substantive president after the assassination of President Jovenel Moise in 2021, a situation that exacerbated insecurity and gang violence in the country. Kenya has been approved by the UN Security Council as part of the country's sending police to the troubled country to restore law and order. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this show. With me, I'm equally joined by Mr. G, and some guys are equally joining very soon. Now, to join us as well, kupitia link ambao nimekutumia hapo kwa comment section. Hiyo link inakutuma moja kwa moja hadi StreamYard. Ukifika StreamYard, unawasha mic, unaandika jina, alafu una click enter. Ukiclick enter, moja kwa moja unajikuta hapa kwa show. Tunaanza kwanza na hili swala la Haiti before tuende stories of housing levy and every other statement issued by our able leaders. All right. The president says that the court only gave a request that they don't use the laborious method. They just use the ways that are set out clearly in the constitution. Like, for example, Haiti writing a request to Kenya concerning wao kutaka kuchukua mapolisi wetu. And in any case, we all know that the ruling was a halt. It was declared unconstitutional. It wasn't even like haikuwa ni advice walikuwa wanapewa, walikuwa wanaambiwa this is unconstitutional, null and void. But Mr. G, the president seems to be talking nicely akiwa majuu. It's like anasema hizi koti zetu zilimpea tu advice. Watu wanaweza enda Haiti if Haiti was to write a letter as soon as next week. Our police wataenda Haiti. What do you make of this tactic by the president? He's using very smart and good English just to say in simple words, I will not obey the courts. In any case, I'll just do it my way, because by the end of the day, Haiti is a must. Lazima tume wa Kenya huko, a country that has assassinated its president. our Kenya police are able to restore order in that country. What do you make of it, Mr. G?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jakes. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Greeting to my guys also in the comment section. Na wale wote ambao wanatuangalia, I greet you guys. I hope mmekuwa na siku njema. And you are all welcome. Let's talk about this issue. The question ambao Jakes ameniuliza on the issue of Haiti. You know, Mr. Jakes, what I'm coming to learn now is that I think there is something. There's a hidden agenda ambayo inaendelea that I'm now starting to suspect that maybe there's a deal ambayo ishafanyika tayari and the guy has already pocketed the money. Sasa it is a must. Is either you die or you don't die, but it is a must. It has to happen. Because the moves that I'm seeing, these moves is a bure. Yeah, these moves inaonyesha kuwa there's something fishy ambayo imefichwa. And remember, it is our constitution ambayo imesema this thing, it is our law, our judges ambao wamesema this thing it is unconstitutional. Na because it is unconstitutional, yeye kwa sababu ako nje ya Kenya anajaribu kuungana na wale wazungu akiwaambia kuwa hata si mambo ya unconstitutional, ni mambo ya being device kuandika barua. And yet kumbuka, we have no president in that country. Now, why am I saying that this thing maybe there may be a fishy deal ambayo imeendelea? This country is, I think they're bordered with the USA. I think this country is bordered with the USA. And as we all know, USA is a superpower country. You cannot compare USA with us, Kenya. In fact, this is wadogo sana. Another thing, look at those miles from Kenya to Haiti. Those miles. How many countries do we pass? Tutapita country ngapi mpaka tufike Haiti? Now, why is it that America cannot take their own policemen? And yet America is a superpower country that has all equipment that any person can need to fight terrorists and to fight any kind of an enemy that you have. America is well equipped. Now in our country, Kenya, thousands of miles away from Haiti. How comes in Akwasa this deal is a must and is either you die or you don't die, but I have to do it. Kwa nini? There's a fishy deal. There's a fishy deal inside there. That's why these things are happening. The moves just shows that there's something fishy going on. Inaonekana the guy alipewa pesa na sasa inabidi afanye hivyo kwa sababu deal ashakula deal.
Na ukiangalia, this is a country that is known for gun violence. It's a country that because of such it assassinated its president. Yani ni nchi moja, they really are I think the guns there are not as here in Kenya. Kenya guns ziko highly protected. To own a gun, you really need to undergo a lot. Huko ni kama guns ni rahisi sana. I'll have to really study about Haiti. But our Kenya police, are they really prepared in such a scenario? Have they been exposed in a country where there is lawlessness, where there are guns everywhere, where you can be shot? It doesn't matter even if you are a president, you can be shot. Are we not sending our own in a land that we are not really sure what could happen? We could end up losing many of them. I'm not saying that will happen. I'm just saying, because if I want you to imagine how they were able to kill their president. What of mere policemen? What can they do?
Jakes, to answer this question, there is an article on our constitution. I think it's 243 or there's an article that talks about the policemen. I don't know if you know the article, unaweza share hapo so that you can use it to answer this question. Yeah. Just hebu angalia article 243 inasema nini in our constitution.
All right.
Nikiendelea pia kutafuta that article. There's an article that article talks about the police and their role as a police. And remember, the policemen in our constitution, I think, wamepewa mandate ya kugovern our country na kulinda our country. But now we have this guy ambaye anataka kuwatoa kwa their role unconstitutionally, akiwapeleka kwa role ambayo si yao. There's a difference between the policemen and the difference between the force, the majeshi. How do you call it? The force? How do you
army.
Call this department? Yeah, the army. Yeah, there's a specific name ambao wamepewa those army, which means these even though one fall under a category of police, but they have different roles. So sijui compared to article inasema nini? That article nilikuwa nataka nitumie that article.
Article 243 ni establishment of the National Police Service. Under it has several.
Look at number B. Look at B or C. Look at number B or C.
It has 1 to 4. Number 1 says there is established the National Police Service. Number 2, the police service consists of 1, the Kenya Police Service, 2, Kenya Administration Service. Number 3, the National Police Service. The National Police Service is a national service and shall function throughout Kenya. Parliament.
Just share that one. No. Share that one. Share number 3. Number 3. Yeah, that is what I want to use it. Yeah. As we look into this matter, let's go with that that article. Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's go on. I've shared it.
Yeah, that article. Just share it. Nilikuwa nataka nitumie that article. Nilikuwa nataka nitumie kujibu. Yeah, that article inasema the National Police Service is a national service that shall function throughout Kenya. Now the word to underline is that word throughout Kenya. Just explain to me that word throughout Kenya inamaanisha nini? In your own words, Mr. Jex, in your own words, inamaanisha nini this word function throughout Kenya? Just in the simple words.
Exactly. They will work within our borders all over our country. But to see another article, let's go on with this one that you want.
No, this one is the best. Which one do you have? Which article do you have? I see Benny. Yeah, you know, when I look at this article, remember it's talking about specifically policemen. Policemen, they should work within our country. Sasa wamepata hiyo power ya kutolewa Kenya, wavuke those other countries zote mpaka waende Haiti. I see Mr. Penny you around, and I'm aware that he had some issue. Mr. Nyagaka, how are you, Nyagaka? I think naweza sema tu pole for what happened.
Asante sana, asante kijana yangu.
Yeah.
All right. Then, sorry for your loss. We at Afrique, we really pass our condolences unreservedly, and we wish you all the best. I don't know. We'll talk with you with behind the scenes. You tell us so far the arrangements, but we really celebrate you for being strong even in these trying times. So thank you so much for being sure even in such times.
Asante sana. Hata huyu ndugu yangu nani, the blackest man in Black Africa, alisema ataiweka kwa radio yake on the 11th.
All right.
Hiyo ni mzuri. Yeah.
When is the date of the burial, or that is yet to be set?
Yeah, on the 16th.
On 16th. All right. So sorry for the loss of your mom. We wish you
thank you
the comfort that God can give you. But let's continue. I know you're strong enough to continue with the show.
Oh yes.
All right. So what do you make of the president defying the courts and saying we must send people to Haiti? It doesn't really matter what the courts ruled on Friday.
No, the president, I think he said something to the effect that the judgment was asking for the letter from Haiti that is requesting for the Kenyan police to be sent there. And within the constitution of Kenya, the army, like Mr. G was saying, the police, they have different categories, but they can temporarily be deployed out of the country. But like he said, like the president said, there was a request to be made. I mean, the judge said there had to be a request made from the government of Haiti to the government of Kenya. And
I wish Stella was here to help me with that ruling. I don't have that ruling. I have that for the housing. I don't have the ruling for that for Haiti, but I'll look for it. so that to get
Yes.
clearly what the courts had ruled on, what they
Yes.
pronounced themselves
Yes.
on. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's very true. That's very true.
Mm-hmm. So
You know,
from where you see the president is quite in order to deploy our police.
yeah, but he has to get the letter from Haiti, and then the
Who
judge should
mhm.
okay it before he can send the police. So
Now
he's waiting for the letter
who will write this letter?
from the
This is
government
a
of
state
Haiti.
that doesn't have a government.
They do have a temporary government,
The government of
not,
Haiti, the president is a partner.
even if it was not elected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the questionable. If the court, I hope the court accepts it, then they'll go from there.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
We'll be discussing that just now, and equally, we'll try to see what that would mean. But thank you, Pen. I'll be coming to you just now, but I will want equally to invite Alex on this matter. When the president says that by next week, if Haiti writes a letter, our police will be deployed. Yet on Friday last week, the court declared the move of deploying our police as unconstitutional, null, and void. What do you make of such? And of course, this one he said while not in Kenya. This is a statement he said while away from Kenya. Here he was speaking, he was not at home. What do you make of such,
You see,
Alex?
the, the ruling was very clear that
Mm-hmm.
the Haiti has not requested for a chance to help them because they, I think they said, because of the international rule that
Mm-hmm.
it is not the U.S. to request for the Haiti. So I think
Mm-hmm.
the ruling was kind of, they said that judge alikuwa anaitwaje? I've forgotten because there were so many.
Chacha,
I was concentrating
sijui
on the
kama ni
levy.
Chacha Mwita.
I was concentrating
Let me
on
get
the
the
levy
name of
one.
that judge.
Yeah.
But
Well,
let's
what
go
he
on.
said was
Mm.
that we cannot go invade another country without an invitation. That's intervention. So
Mm-hmm.
so he was telling Ruto
Yeah,
and
it was
his
Chacha
government,
Mwita.
Chacha
Mm-hmm.
Muita, yeah. Yeah. So I think
Yeah, it was
it
Chacha Mwita.
it
Yes.
is clear. It was clear that going there is an invasion, and this against our
Mm-hmm.
constitution that we cannot invade another country for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right. Now, if they were to write a letter, what who would sign it? They don't even have a president. The president was assassinated. What would be the procedure, and who will verify the letter, and how would Kenya go about it?
There is no way. I mean, this thing is going to be legal because the judge said that Kenya offer was not legal, but needed to be carried out according to the constitution. So if
Mm-hmm.
the president is not there,
Uh-huh.
I mean, there is no way this thing is
Uh-huh.
going to succeed unless you bully.
Uh-huh.
You know, Guita made the ruling in response to an
Uh-huh.
application from the Third Way Alliance, the Kurwa Court,
Mm-hmm.
who argued that the
Mm-hmm.
government's plan sounds like the office
Mm-hmm.
of Haiti was illegal. So Kenyan government
Mm-hmm.
spokesman Isaac Mwaura
Mm-hmm.
nakumbuka akisema it will appeal the
Mm-hmm.
decision, but how? How do you appeal? How do you make it legal?
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. Because the UN
Mm-hmm.
spokesman, who is called Stefan Durit, I think something that noted that the government announcement that it needed to
Uh-huh.
appeal, he said the need for
Uh-huh.
multinational forces authorized by the Security Council
Mm-hmm.
remain extremely high.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think constitutionally it's going to be possible, unless it defies the
Mm-hmm.
court, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because Mwita Chacha actually is allied to the UDA, if you look at it. But on the matter, you know, it was that Kenya authorities had stepped forward
Mm-hmm.
and they were doing something that was illegal. Yeah.
So now, when the president says by next week, uh, if the paperwork is done, when is it that simple? Sign a paperwork, write a paperwork, and voila, our police are in Haiti. Is it that simple?
It's not that simple. You know, the international law in
Mm-hmm.
regard to how we can send our forces to another country, it's
Mm-hmm.
very clear on how to
Mm-hmm.
do. For instance, when
Yeah.
Ruto came to, for instance, when Ruto came to power, the Congo
Mm-hmm.
requested the Congo wanted to kick out the other forces because they were peacekeeping.
Mm-hmm.
They were not helping in the crisis. Yeah, so I don't know if we are going there as peacekeepers or we are going there as forces to actually fight the cartels. You
Uh-huh.
know, so that's another question that the UN needs to clarify.
Mm-hmm. But you see, what Chachamwita said that the National Council had no mandate. It's not mandated in deploying our police officers, that can only be done by the defense force, which is the army. So when we are sending our police, um, what criteria would we be using? Of course, these part of excerpt from Citizen explains that in detail. But why was the ruling that the National Security Council was the one that had erred in choosing to deploy the officers?
You see, you have to know that the UN deployed forces from 2004 to 2017. And you remember that that international invasion had disastrous consequences for Haiti. So I don't know why we
Mm-hmm.
are going there. The US went there, the France
Mm-hmm.
went there. So I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why we are forcing to go there. The solution for Haiti, including those who bolster the national forces and the army,
Mm-hmm.
is to tamper down the violence and return to the semblance of the security. And we have to listen to
Mm-hmm.
what the cartels are saying. If the US went there,
Mm-hmm.
the France went there. From 2004 to 2017, there was a force that was there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the intervention has disastrous consequences for Haiti. So who
Mm-hmm.
are we as Kenyans to go there? If US ilishindwa, what are we going to do there?
Of course, other countries have sent their troops. We have the Bahamas, Antigua, and Barbuda and Jamaica doing that. So Kenya, when Kenya does it, or what benefit does it have for our country? Or what really, what is it in it for us? All right. Uh, why is it so important we send people there? There's so many countries that haven't. All right. So why should Kenya be on the forefront to do that? Yet then again, we still have so many challenges in our country as it is. So why is it so important now? And the numbers is equally so high, 1,000 of them.
Look, Dex, I cannot overstress the severity of the situation in
Mm-hmm.
Haiti. And remember,
Mm-hmm.
some 300 gangs,
Mm-hmm.
300 gangs control 80% of the capital
Mm-hmm.
and accounts for
Mm-hmm.
83%. Last year, the
Uh-huh.
killings were especially. The Salvador people
Mm-hmm.
sent people there. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't restore anything. You see, the gangs have the food basket. The gangs have the.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you have 300 gangs, how
Mm-hmm.
are you going to divide the policemen to fight 300 gangs?
Uh-huh.
If it was two, three gangs, you could know how to
Mm-hmm.
tackle it. So the US ilishindwa.
Mm-hmm.
The French people akashindwa. Who are we?
Mm-hmm.
What strategy do we have? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we are taking our people to die there. It's a bloodbath. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Mm-hmm.
Rita Chacha is also looking at the situation and in Haiti. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
in the ruling, he couldn't say it openly, but in the ruling, he's looking at the Americans are
Mm-hmm.
hiding behind the Kenyans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, Chacha Mwita said that the National Security Council has no legal mandate to deploy police officers under the law, adding that it was only to do so with defense force. Now, my question is this. We have been sending defense forces. We send them to Burundi. We send them to Somali. Why don't we send our defense force?
Actually, that is what we are supposed to, but also the UN allows the police to go. You know, the UN Charter has also its own rules. They say that in some situations the police can go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not illegal for the police to go. The police can go
Mm-hmm.
in some situations, but usually it's the defense force to go. But this
Mm-hmm.
time around, I don't know why they decided to use the police.
All right. So, what Chacha Mwita based his ruling on was Article 107 and 108 of the Police Service Act. That's what he used to base his ruling on, and that's why Mr. G, I was telling you that there are other laws that informed the ruling and why our police can be deployed in other countries. All right. Okay. So before we go on to the
So
next
let me
part
tell you,
of this show. Mm-hmm.
yes, you know, Burundi,
Yeah.
Chad,
Yeah.
Senegal, Jamaica, and I don't know which other country. There were
Mm-hmm.
other 6 countries also pledged. But even their own
Mm-hmm.
constitution has stopped them. Jamaica has
Mm-hmm.
stopped them from going.
Mm-hmm.
Senegal has been stopped. It is not only Kenya who is there. This thing is so illegal that even Burundi walienda kotini wakaistop. Chad, the same thing. Senegal, the same thing. Jamaica, the same thing. So there is a process whereby if it's the defense force, it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
But the police, I mean, we need the police to be here so that even our situation is dire. We have a dire situation because, as you see,
Mm-hmm.
the country is tense. So I think
Mm-hmm.
uh, Ruto could have given the. We wouldn't be complaining if it was the Kenya Defense Force. Yeah, because we
Mm-hmm.
allowed Kenya Defense Force to be
Now,
in Somalia
there's also
illegally.
this other question that is mind-boggling, and I think here is where Mr. G is coming in. Could money have exchanged hands? Because deploying them would require some facilitation. Is it our taxpayers' money? Has they been funded by other organizations or institutions from outside to facilitate this? And maybe the money has already been sent in, because I think we saw the launch of the uniform they will use there. We saw the training for these police officers happening. We saw them being, being trained on how to handle themselves while in Haiti. So a lot has gone on so far. So the question of money, could it inform this defiance of the court? Either is it our money we are using, or is it source from out?
Obviously, money was given. Because
Mm-hmm.
while announcing the issue, uh, Mr. Ruto was in the
Mm-hmm.
US. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, money was exchanged. And I think they were
Mm-hmm.
given half of the money by February when they deploy them, then all the money will be given. So the
Mm-hmm.
issue of money was there. You can't just
All
accept
right.
your obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
it is not an open thing whereby we can say how much money and that. But for Ruto to accept such a deal,
Mm-hmm.
he was given money, obviously.
All right. I want us to listen to some of the arguments he gave, and then we go to the next part of the same issue, but at a different turn.
Haiti in the United Nations approved security mission. The president says the deployment, blocked by the courts, will continue as soon as Haiti sends a formal request. Last week, the Kenyan High Court declared the planned deployment illegal. Let's begin our broadcast with our very own Brenda Wanga.
Less than a week after the High Court stopped the government's plan to deploy Kenyan police officers to Haiti, President William Ruto now says those plans will still go on.
I think there is a misinterpretation of what the court did. The court gave a different option. The court said, okay, don't use the route of the National Security Council going to Parliament and using the route that is given for the military. Use a bilateral route. So the court has suggested that we don't need to go the laborious way. We need simply to have a bilateral agreement between Kenya and Haiti, and that is sufficient for us to deploy our police.
Speaking in Rome, Italy, the president maintained that Kenya can still find a route to carry out what he has previously termed as a mission for humanity. The High Court in its ruling last week stated that the Constitution only allowed members of the Kenya Defence Forces to be deployed outside the country, and that this deployment would only be done through the National Security Council when requested by the United Nations Security Council.
The act of deploying police officers to Haiti is unconstitutional, illegal and void.
President Ruto, however, says the deployment will ride on the strength of what he says are bilateral relations between Kenya and Haiti.
So we already have a bilateral relations with Haiti. All that needs to be done now is for Haiti to make a request to Kenya, and the mission will go ahead. So that mission can go ahead as soon as next week if all the paperwork is done between Kenya and Haiti on the bilateral route that has been suggested.
Under Kenyan laws, the country's police officers can only be deployed outside the country if that deployment meets the criteria set out in Articles 107, 108, and 109 of the National Police Service Act of 2011. The Article 107 states that the President may, on the application of a reciprocating country, order police officers to proceed to that country for service in a temporary emergency. Article 108 further defines a reciprocating country as any country which the President may, being satisfied that the law of that country contains provisions reciprocal to this part, and that Kenya is or shall be declared a reciprocating country for the purposes of those provisions, and by notice in the Gazette declare to be a reciprocating country for the purposes of this part. President Ruto says Haiti requested Kenya for help months ago, but was now awaiting a formal request. It remains unclear which authority in Haiti will make that request, as the country remains without a substantive president after the assassination of President Jovenel Moise in 2021. A situation that exacerbated insecurity and gang violence in the country. Kenya has been approved by the UN Security Council as part of the country's sending police to the troubled country to restore law and order. Brenda Wanga, Citizen.
All right. Mr. G, I don't know if you have anything to add before I go to the next part of the show. Do you? All right, just move on.
Oh, sorry, Nicole muted. I'm saying that we can go on to another section, because I think Nanyam explained it vizuri. Honorable Lex explain it well. Although something that I can add something that I can just add I don't know why people cannot learn from other countries, because kama tunajua America was in that place. Now wamekataa kwenda kule because they know what they saw in that place, and I think it's not an easy thing about tunasema tutapeleka our own policemen kwenda kufight there. That means that maybe tutapeleka watu wetu kwenda kuuliwa. Why can't they just learn from other countries? You see, I'm still trying to understand kwa nini Ruto ana push this thing mpaka anajaribu kubadilisha how the ruling was, akijaribu kuleta kitu ambacho inaweza kumimpress na kumpress other people. So I don't know what he's looking, but I can just conclude that he's been misled by some of the advisors ambao anamuadvise, ama maybe he doesn't listen to these advisors here. Yeah.
We'll be looking at that matter in your raise about advisors very soon when we come to Raila Odinga. There is something he said as pertaining that. But equally today, the clergy, the Kenya clergy, in Ufungamano House, I think. Is it Ufunga? I don't know. I'll get that for you. But they today came out gun blazing, telling the president, you must obey court orders. Yeah, we have just talked about the defiance of the court orders that is about to happen. But the clergy has come out, and before I even get to sentiments, gentlemen, allow me to let us listen to this footage. Then we come in and debate about it, because it's interesting where the clergy says the president has refused to listen to the clergy. The president has chosen to listen to a few clergy, and the clergy he's listening to are the ones who are telling him what he needs to hear, not the truth, not anything that affects Monanchi, but what the president needs to hear is what he's choosing to hear from this clergy. Let's listen to this, and then we will be back debating about it.
Listening to the clergy over the state of affairs in the country. The Ufungamano Joint Forum for the Religious Organizations faulted the president for disobeying court orders, especially on the housing levy, that they say is a misplaced priority. We get more from our very own Stephen Little.
The historic Ufungamano House hosted a group of religious leaders who came with a loaded message dubbed Speaking to Power. The leaders were here to express their displeasure with the government of the day. The clergy telling President Ruto that his party's manifesto is not superior to the law.
Every person has an obligation to respect, uphold, defend the Constitution. The structures and manifestos of political parties are not above the law and are subject to determination by the courts whenever petitions are presented.
The clergy, angered by the housing levy that the executive insists was its promise to Kenyans when they assumed office. They questioned why the government is adamant on the housing tax, yet there are so many gray areas.
Mambo ya housing levy, maadamu serikali koti zimepinga, ingekuwa vizuri wachana nayo. Wakenya saizi wana shida ya nyumba, wana shida ya chakula, matumbo yao ndio inawasumbua zaidi. Wakenya wanashinda vile watapeleka watoto shule. Ungeangalia hizi shida, na kama utawasaidia usiwachukulie tax zao. Watu wanalia.
Unajua kuna maswali nyingi sana ambayo hatuwezi kujibu. Haya manyumba yatagawiwa kina nani na jinsi gani? Watalipa pesa ngapi? Watalipa kwa muda gani?
It is true that we had a lot of hope that this one is one of us, is in the congregation with us every Sunday. He will listen. But then, as things are, I will not say that he's not listening to church leaders, but he's listening to some church leaders, and maybe church leaders who are telling the president what he wants to hear, not what is the reality on the ground.
The religious leaders noted the continued disregard of court orders, saying it's a threat to constitutionalism.
Ni kwa kuwa wanaomzunguka rais wanamdanganya. Huende kawa Rais Ruto ndio rais peke yake Kenya, hata Moi kuwa kama yeye, hata Uhuru kuwa kama yeye, hata Kibaki kuwa kama yeye. Huenda kawa wanaomzunguka wote ni warongo na matapeli.
The book of Joshua chapter 1 and verse 8. Joshua was instructed never to turn away from the law, to the right or to the left. That way, the people of God will get good success. For the nation to be successful, it is important for the head of state to uphold the rule of law, the Constitution, the law of God, and the law of the people.
The joint group that has since submitted its memorandum to State House, the Office of the Chief Justice, Parliament, and the EACC has also raised an alarm over cases of corruption.
To the level where those who engage in corruption, big or small, face the law firmly and rapidly.
They now want all the three arms of government to respect the rule of law. Stephen Leto Citizen TV.
Now, let's begin with that. Um, they they sorry. There is there's this notion that church really helped William Ruto come to power. And I love what one of the pastors said is that they thought this was one of their own. This was a member, mshirika mzuri wa kila Sunday. Only for them to now say, kumbe. Now, before I even say so much, Mr. G, what do you make of the sentiments from the clergy?
You know, Jex, with the issue of clergy and this issue of Ruto, maybe calling them that they thought he was their son, he was among the sons. They have to know. No, it's not that they have to know. It is out there, even it's in the media, whereby this guy bought those people. He bought the clergies. Kila siku on Sunday alikuwa akienda anawacha 2 million, unakumbuka? And on a Sunday alikuwa anaenda karibu church 2 ama church 3. And in each service he was giving 2 million. Each service was giving 2 million. So he was just buying these people, and these people they fall into his trap. So he was wasidanganye kuwa they thought he was their son. Hakuna kitu kama he was their son. He was buying them, walikuwa wananunuliwa, and they fall into corruption. They fall into that trap. Sasa sahi mambo imegeuka, ndio sasa wanashangaa. But the truth ni kuwa Ruto, to me, he's just a hypocrite. As much as anapenda kuomba sana, anapenda kulia, but the issue of Christianity, even though hatufai kuongea sana kuhusu mtu, na that is a personal life ya mtu, but kwangu mimi ukifika upande wa church, I think Ruto asiweke upande wa church. It's more of a corrupt man, and it's more of a hypocrite man, yeah.
Wewe ukiamua kukanyangia unakanyangia mpaka una all right, I'll be coming to you, Manaji. But Alex, what do you make of the sentiments from the clergy asking the president not to defy court orders?
No, Jex, one of the things that the clergy is trying to say here is Ruto has overextended its mandate. And they are trying as much as possible to make sure they redeem themselves and stay away from Ruto, because one thing they are looking at the authenticity of, are they the ones who gave him the power to do all this? The clergy has behaved very bad in regard to the issues of on how they do things every Sunday, and they're trying to redeem themselves from that part. And you see, this is part of the clergy, not all the clergy. Okay, so there's a section.
Actually, I don't know any of them. I've never seen them. I saw them for the first time today.
Yeah, so you can question why they are coming there at Fungamano House, which is okay, but the fact is this: they are telling the president, please obey court orders. There's a way things are done. And I like this pastor who quoted Joshua, you know, chapter 1, verse 8, do not turn against the law, whether left or right. You know, a president takes the Bible and takes the oath. And once you take an oath, you are abided by it, you know, and that is why you take the oath of the office, whereby you are told to respect the Constitution. And you take the Bible and you say, I will abide, and the Constitution will be, you know, the Constitution is the supreme being that guides a country. Without the Constitution, actually, there will be anarchy in a country. And that is why we must obey it. Unfortunately, if things are not in your favor, sometimes you feel bad. But they can't be in your favor if you're not following the law. Okay? So, and I say, there are people within the president circle who are misadvising him. And the reason they are misadvising him is the whole issue of money. I think money was, a lot of money was given to the Kenyans. So there is no way you can now defy saying you can't go there. And they were given money, and they said, you know, when the US gives you money, it makes you sign a document that is binding, that you cannot run away from. And that's the situation I think Ruto is and has to deliver. So that's why he doesn't know how to do it. But a letter from the authorities from 80, who's going to write it? That's the question. Because he said reciprocal arrangement. And if you Google that word that Mita used, reciprocal arrangement, it means we must have had a reciprocal relationship between us and 80. I've never had us have a relationship such as kind. Is it now that we are going to start having it? We've never had a relationship, a formal relationship with Haiti that you can say that it had the word that Mita Chacha termed as reciprocal arrangement. We've never had that. With Uganda, you can say that. With Tanzania, you can say that. With Somalia, you can say that. But with Haiti, hell no. Thank you.
Now, when it comes to the church, one time Raila Odinga said, I think several Sundays back, 3 or 4 Sundays ago, he said he actually blamed the church for allowing politicians to use the pulpit to connive Kenyans and con them and tell them lies that they were sure they won't really fulfill once they got into power. The mess we are in, is the church partly to blame?
Obviously, yes, Mr. Jakes. If you look at the mess that we are in today, it is because of the way, during COVID, we couldn't campaign, but Ruto connived his way through, and he went to jail, which was a smart move, okay? Which was a smart move. As a politician, you must look ways to do things. So I think he looked for a way. He started campaigning in the churches. But remember also, there was this change of currency, and these people had a lot of money. And some of these monies, they didn't know that they could ever be able to redeem them. Because when we changed the currency, they were targeting Ruto, the previous government was targeting Ruto, so that he can, because we were told that money to accuse. So, and that's why we were facing off the old currency. And most of that money went to churches because they didn't know what to do. And having unaenda hapa unapeana 2 million, unaenda hapa unapeana 2 million, unaenda hapa wengine walikuwa wanapata 10 million. So the church became the darling of Ruto because they were recipients of a lot of money that they have never gotten. Ole Sapit, according to Kalwale, received, was it 6 million? Something like that, on a personal level. Ole Sapit was challenged to return the money that he had taken. So I think there was bribery, there was extortion, there was betrayal by the church, and lastly, there was, I can say, stupidity within the religious sector because they looked for the money more than the principle of Christianity, and that made them vote for Ruto. Today they are saying tulifikiria alikuwa mtu wetu. The way he explains with a lot of embarrassment. You see how he's explaining it. Ako ndani yetu, lakini sasa tumegundua, and that's how he was doing his hands. Sasa tumegundua hayuko ndani yetu. That tells a lot. Hello. Yes.
Mr. G, what do you make of one of the things Raila Odinga asserted, that the church is to blame for some of the things we go through because it gave the pulpit, reversed the roles of the clergy and allowed the politician use the pulpit, because there we get free gathering of saints and worshippers who have come voluntarily to worship, all right? But the politician sets in and anapewa the pulpit. Na hapo kwa pulpit, they were spewing lots of uongo. And lo and behold, the church, in a way, according to Raila Odinga sometimes back, really played a role in making this government be what it is. From where you sit, from what you are hearing from the clergy saying today, that tulidhani ni mtu wetu, kumbe hakuwa mtu wetu, or rather ni jamaa alikuwa akija kanisani tukadhani ni muumini kwa sababu alikuwa anakuja kila ibada, ama yeye hakosi ibada za Jumapili. What is the church saying in simple words?
You know, as much as I agree with what Alex amesema and what Baba said, you know, there's something that is happening in our churches nowadays ambao I think churches zetu zimekaa bila Mungu sasa. They're praying, but the presence of God is not there. You know, when we try to look at what used to happen, yeah, those days of our prophets, the Elijah and other prophets, we are being told that in the Holy of Holies, ilikuwa ukifanya usherati, alafu uende ukanyage that Holy of Holies, unakufa hapo na hapo. Ikiwa umetenda dhambi yoyote, unakufa hapo na hapo. And these people, watu ambao walikuwa wanaingia pale, the priest ambao wanaingia pale kwa Holy of Holies, walikuwa wanafungwa kamba kwa mguu. In case mtu yote amefanya dhambi, akifika pale akakufa, no one is allowed to step in that place. Inabidi anavutwa na kamba kutolewa in that place. So, look at what happened. I'm giving an example of things, how things were happening in the church. Look at what happened between Anania and his wife, Sapphira. Ile time ambao alienda kuuza shamba, and then they were to take that money to church. Walipofika pale kwa church, Paul alikuwa pale, wakaamua kuficha a portion of that money. Hawakupeana pesa yote. Peter, yeah. They decided to kuficha kidogo, part of the money. Walipokanyaga tu pale kwa altar, wote walikufia hapo hapo. Now, we go back to your question, Mr. Jakes. At the moment, currently, at the moment, I think the presence of God imewacha kanisa mingi. These people, they are full of arrogance. I mean, no, greedy. I don't want to use arrogance. Let me use greedy. They are full of greedy. Na kwa sababu ya pesa, ile pesa ya Ruto, the 2 million ambao alikuwa anapatiana, ilikuwa ni tamu sana kwao. Kwa sababu unajua what he used to do, he used to come with money, anakudanganya kuwa anakuja kukujengea. Unajua most of these churches mingi hazijaisha, bado wanaendelea kubuild. They are building those churches. Sasa alikuwa anakuja anasema atashughulikia hiyo project na anakupatia pia 2 million, alafu anakupatia pia basi ama gari. The pastors wako wananunuliwa magari. But Prado, what I'm trying to say ni kuwa in the Bible we are told kuna watu ambao watajifanya ni Wakristo lakini wamejifunga, wamevaa ile ngozi ya kondoo. Ni mbwa mwitu but wamevaa ngozi ya kondoo. We need to be careful with any person that comes in the name of the Lord, and that is what the Bible tells us. We need to be very careful with every person. That's why Paul told us, when you are in the church and any person comes to you, another could preach, another kuambia anything about gospel, sit down, listen to him, and then go back, sit down and start going through those notes, go through those messages ambapo anakuambia, verify it, nyua kama ukweli kitu kutoka kwa Mungu ama haijatoka kwa Mungu. Most of these people wanavalia ngozi ya kondoo na ni mbwa mwitu, wanakuja kutuangamiza. Now the pastor was complaining, saying that we thought he is our own. I think if you are a pastor, you have a discernment spirit. You have to discern if this guy has the Holy Spirit, if this guy is sent with God, if this guy has anything connected with God. A pastor has to have that discerning spirit. But if it is zote zimetoka kwa kanisa yetu, that's why tuna fall into these traps. Tunaingia into things ambao hatukuwa tuna expect. Sasa hii pastor analalamika, anasema we thought he was ours. But we told them that this guy is not your guy. Huyu alikuwa ni mtu alikuwa anaenda kutafuta pesa, alikuwa na corrupt your mind, awanunue mwende mumpigie kura. Sasa ndio watu wanaanza kuona true pictures. Back to you, Mr. Jakes.
All right. Alex, simple question. Is the church woke?
No, because now Ruto is not using the traditional churches like Anglican, like SDA, like Catholic. He's using people who have personal churches. And those are charismatic churches, which are very dangerous. You see, there's something Mama Ida tried to say during the campaign. He said, let us regulate the churches because extortion has become part and parcel of the church. In as much as I love Pastor Ezekiel, I question how he got that rich. because he has built international schools, and the things that he has done there, you look at them, they are very wonderful. But then how can a man just get that rich within 7 years? There should be questions that we need to answer. I hear some pastors wanaambianga watu walete sijui ni wauze mashamba zao walete hii, and those are not the traditional churches ambazo tunajua kama Catholic, kama Presbyterian and all that. These are people like Nganga's churches, people like this woman who wanted to become the governor of Nairobi. Those are personal churches. And we must really investigate these personal churches on how they get their money. Part of the things they do is to tell people to sell their own land. And these are the ones that can be bribed easily by the state so that their pulpit is used on a daily, on a Sunday basis. And we have seen it. Ata Baba is culpable of that. The other Sunday they were in Embakasi. There's a church they love going in Embakasi there. After the service, ilikuwa pure politics. So there's nobody who is innocent when it comes to the politics in the church or the pulpit. If you look at every Sunday, Baba ananga kanisa na Kalonzo, Wamalwa, na Karua. Must they go to church together every Sunday like that? No. Even them, they are culpable. They must stop using the pulpit. You see, let me tell you, and perhaps that is why the country has been cursed, is that there's nobody who is innocent when it comes. The pulpit is a holy place. In fact, when we were growing up, we could not step in the pulpit as children. And when the Holy Communion was being taken, we could not even know what the Holy Communion was as children. We could be told to go out and they take the Holy Communion. But what you are seeing today is very, very weird. Every Sunday, siasa lazima ipigwe kanisani. Ruto anaenda na watu wake karibu 20 kanisani. Raila naye pia anaenda na watu wake. Alafu habari jioni itakuwa hii ili happen kanisa fulani na wakasema hivi. Hatuonyeshi mahubiri ya hiyo kanisa, wanatuonyesha siasa yenye ilifanyika kwa hiyo kanisa. Perhaps that's why our country is cursed. Yes.
And even when these politicians attend those services, the pastor will not bring anything that will raise eyebrows, you know, at a tailor message in a way, not that I am really not that I want to enter into the debate of what to preach, what not to preach and all that. But even when they preach, do they even preach the word of God in a way that's supposed to massage the politician? As that pastor was saying, is that even when they speak to the president, they are telling him what he wants to hear. So I create a sermon just to praise you. I create a sermon just to massage your ego, to make you feel nice. But I'm not telling you as it is, the truth of the word, the truth of the situation. Is there some truth in that?
Very true, Jakes. Remember, there was a time in the
Let me
pulpit.
begin with Mr. D. Yeah, okay.
There was a time.
Go ahead. I'll come to Mr. G.
Very true, Mr. X and Mr. G. And there was a time Ruto went to a certain church, and his portrait ilikuwa imewekwa kubwa sana in front of the church. Remember that? Do you remember, Jakes, that?
Yeah.
When Ruto went to church and in the pulpit.
I think it was Jesus Winners. I think was it Jesus like Winners in Adam's Arcade thereabout? I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was the portrait of Ruto that was in front there. What a blasphemy! You see, that's total blasphemy, and it tells you that people do not read their Bible. It is entertainment. Nowadays, people go to church that are entertaining, that makes them feel good, not convict them of their sins. So it is true what he said, that there are those who tell Ruto what he wants to hear. They don't tell him what ought to be done. Thank you.
Mr. G, do they tell him
exactly,
what needs to be?
That is what is happening. You know, that is how Ruto is. Ruto anapenda kusikia kitu ambacho anataka kusikia. And that is how he is. But let me go back to your question. What pastors are doing. Look at what is happening in our churches nowadays. Leave alone, wacha tuweke Ruto kando. Just look at our churches, how it is happening. Nowadays, pastors are preaching to bring people closer to them more than preaching the holiness and the truth. They want to convince watu ndio wasonge karibu now. They are speaking to them what they want to hear. And even it is also in the Bible, whereby they are talking to please people. They are talking, which word, but I think you are getting what I'm saying. These guys, they're not speaking what they're supposed to do. They're not speaking what they're supposed to do. They're just talking things ambayo itafanya watu wasikie, ambayo ni tamu kwa masikio ya watenda dhambi, so that wasiwache kanisa wasiende. Kwa sababu gani? Ile sadaka ibaki kwa kanisa. They talk those things, ndo mtu atoe sadaka kubwa. Enda kwa most of our churches, pata wale watu ambao wameketi mbele ya kanisa, washerati wakubwa, lakini hao ndo wakubwa makanisa, hao ndo wakubwa wetu, hao ndo leaders of sijui ndio elders of churches, na hao ndo washerati wakubwa, hao ndo watu wanachukua mabibi za watu. And these things are happening now. Going back to what you talked about on the issue of Ruto, the same thing. Wanafanya hivyo ndo Ruto apatiane 2 million, wanafanya hivyo ndo Ruto apatiane 3 million, wanafanya hivyo ndo the project imaliziwe na Ruto. Ana Ruto pia anapenda hiyo. Ruto anapenda mtu ambaye anampraise, mtu ambaye anaongea kitu ambao inamfurahisha. So that is just that is a strategy ya kupata pesa.
Now there's this other part that and this one I think will take some bit of our time, that one Moses Masika Wentagula has gone to court to appeal the ruling by the Supreme Court. But before I even bring that, allow me to appreciate wale ambao wa comment section. We still really appreciate you and your feedbacks and sentiments. I see Remosi Egona Kondani, Goodyear and Wengi ambao wana participate kwa comment section. So thank you very, very much. And those of us still watching, we are glad that you chose to be part of this wonderful conversation happening here at Afrique 24. This is only a show that allows you to come in and have your sentiments aired without any form of restriction. Here we don't advocate for anything like ati tusimamie pande Azimio ama Kenya Kwanza. No, we talk matters as they are. Here it's never about who, it's about us wananchi. Hapa tunafanya show yetu kwa sababu hii ni yetu. All right, thank you so much. Karibuni sana wadau. Let us continue having great debate. You as well can join in the conversation. The link is there at the comment section. Tumia hiyo link ikulete moja kwa moja hadi hapa Afrique 24. Hiyo link inakutuma moja kwa moja kwa StreamYard. Ukifika StreamYard fanya vipi? Andika jina, right? Andika jina, asha mic, asha camera, alafu click enter. Hivyo tu, kazi rahisi. All right, na unajikuta uko kwa show. Thank you very much, and above all, as Goodyear always tells us, hakikisha umelike hii video, subscribe to Afrique 24. Let us make this conversation go to as many people as possible, right? Goodyear, asante sana for doing kazi nzuri hapo kwa comment section, mkiwa na kina Reimos na Remesu, sorry, na wengine wengi ambao mna participate hapo kwa comment section. Now let's continue, guys. Wentagula has gone to court.
I will request uniache nienda comment section kidogo. I deal with Yagon. Yagon has been abusing me from yesterday. I want to go to comment section and deal with him perpendicularly.
We made a ruling about comment section.
I'm not going to take this easily. You know, he thinks that I cannot type. I'm one person who can deal with him perpendicularly.
Yeah.
We cannot be here as panelists giving issues.
That one can happen for comment section.
No, we cannot be here volunteering our time and we find somebody is just abusing me the whole time. I'm requesting you to give me time today. I deal with him there.
I think you should just be warned. I try to speak about this thing.
We can't be here as panelists. We can't be here as panelists, and we are being abused there, as if we do not know how to type.
Yeah, I
you
raised
either
this
block
issue,
him or you warn him. You either block him or you warn him.
No, I wouldn't
Otherwise,
block
hata
him.
sisi tutakuacha hapa peke yako, tuende huko tuende kutype, because we can type and we know how to abuse.
let's not do that.
Then warn him.
Let's comment concerning what they're discussing. I think
but
he's
yes,
warned. Yegon, I know.
this
Just a moment, Mr. G. Yegon and any other person, let's stick to germane issues that we are discussing here in the show, and let's not jump into ways of making someone feel offended, because by the end of the day, just like you enjoy typing, there are people who enjoy speaking about it. Just like you enjoy being part of the comment section, there are those who love being part of those who watch. And equally, we have this other section of guys who come as panelists. The three have to work together. All right. None of us is the very best, none, including your moderator here, yours truly. But what we do, we come together, the three forces of us, the three forces, the guys who are watching, the comment section, and the panelists, and bring out the success of the show. So I request you to kindly honor and give some degree of respect, kidogo tu, yeah, to the to the panelists. All right. Na pia sisi, we shall respect all of the comment guys. All right. At times huwa mnafanya our panelists wana feel vibaya sana, because at times you go personal, but let's stick to what we are discussing. There are so many topics we can talk about rather than focusing on a person whom he's just raising an opinion. You equally are entitled to your opinion. That's the best I can do for now. And I really pray that we can continue as we have always done. Let us have a good show. That's our aim, to have a good show. Let's not fight, let's engage. That's our desire. Okay? Thank you very, very much. Yes, Mr. G.
no, I think I've just addressed it. I was just saying that this guy is too much. You know, amekuwa
It's
too
well,
much sana.
it's well. I
But
think that part we
you
have
have
addressed
addressed
it.
it.
It's well.
Yeah.
It's well.
Okay.
All right. Now, we are good friends. We are partners. We are good guys. All right. Comment section, viewers, panelists, tuko fine. All right. Now, by the way, akunanga like special invite for anyone. You can join any side. You can join us kwa panelist. All right. So please equally make this other side your home as well. Okay. We go back to Wentagula. Wentagula has gone to the Supreme Court appealing the ruling of the two lower houses, or rather lower courts, the Court of Appeal and the High Court, what they ruled as unconstitutional in as far as the housing levy is concerned. First reaction, what do you make of this, Mr. G? Wetangula ameenda kotini could defend the
No,
housing levy. What do you make of it?
You know, Wetangula is a confused man. Unajua, since that day ambayo alichaguliwa kama speaker, remember we were the majority as Mio, we were the majority in that house. But look at what he did. Alibadilisha things na akasema kwa majority ni UDA, and he's a guy ambaye anaona kabisa numbers and people who are chose under Azimio. Anajua vizuri kuwa kuna mkataba wakati mmeingia in agreement, kwa kuna timeline ambayo unapewa for somebody ambaye anajitoa kwa hiyo agreement, but he went ahead and make us a minority and yet we were the majority. So Wetangula mimi sijaifurahia venye kwa na deal with things, and he's a guy ambaye amesaidiwa na Raila. You remember that time walikuwa kwa Raila akampatia paka hiyo kiti wakati wa Senate. I think he was the lead of something in Senate, but ni juzi ambaye ameongea akisema kuwa anafurahia. In fact, that statement ilikuwa inaniuma sana venye anaongea. Sijui kama msikia venye anaongea juzi. I think he was in Western. Akawa anasema hata anashukuru Mungu Raila hajakuwa president. You remember that statement?
Yeah.
And this is a guy ambaye baba amemsaidia. So huwa sitaki kusikia story yake. Hata leo sijui ameenda saa ameongea nini, sijamuongea saa ngapi, sijui ameenda wapi. Huwa sitaki kabisa kusikia story yake. That is just a guy ambaye is abomination.
What?
But on the issue, but on the issue of housing, Jex, hii ni kitu tumeongea kuanzia sijui lini. This is just a scam. This is not affordable housing about tunaongea. Hata baba muongelea leo this thing. This is not affordable housing about tunaongea. This is just a scam for the rich men to come and continue getting money from poor people. Because some of us ambao we are hustlers, hatuna hiyo pesa ambao tutalipa 350,000 as a deposit to get that house ambao wanadanganya watu kuwa is affordable housing. That is not affordable housing. Ile ni housing ambao anakuja kutajirisha matajiri wenzake. Yeah, sasa hata wakienda kotini, you know, the thing is these guys, they will capture the judiciary na wata capture our judges, so they watafanya kila kitu ku intimidate them so that everything that they want may pass through. Look at what they said juzi. Huyo I think it was Kimani alisema, wewe president, endelea na kazi yako, tupatie nafasi sisi to deal na watu. You remember that statement? So this is what they are trying all the ways. They intimidate the judges, alafu anze kufanya vitu zao, and the judges wataendelea ku fall into their traps. Back to Alex, maybe angalia hiyo kitu, because mimi huyu jamaa Papa wa Roma, he's just one of, ni kama nani, ni kama CJ to me, ni kama huyo madam sijui madam nani.
Wow. Okay, Alex, Papa wa Roma ameenda kotini. He represents and he is the man in charge of the other arm of government, the legislature. He represents both minority and majority. The minority are already in court. The Azimio faction is in court opposing the housing levy. Aside he represents, he speaks both for the majority and the minority. But today he has gone to court to counter what was declared null and void by the appellate court. What do you make of such a move from the Speaker of the National Assembly?
You know, Jex, jana nani aliuliza swali mzuri sana, Mr. G. Is the Attorney General dead? Where is that guy? Usually, the person that is supposed to appeal is the Attorney General. And the Attorney General has been against the Speaker of the House for 10 years. He has looked into this thing, ameona the scamness in it. So, he has ameenda nyuma. Because he knows if he goes to court, he's a lawyer too. He was a judge for many years. So he has read through what is being done. In his mind, he thinks it's illegal. Where is he? The Attorney General is the one who's supposed to go to court. It's even illegal for the Speaker to go to court. It is the Attorney General's work to defend the government, because he's the legal advisor to the government. The question, where is he in all these matters? So Papa wa Roma is overstepping his mandate, and I think he will be very embarrassed. Look, when you want to force things, they cannot work. Just use the natural means. When you are going to court, don't feel guilty when, like Okiya Omtatah, he went confidently. Even at the point where we were afraid that Kagame has met with Ruto, things are going to be bad. But Okiya Omtatah was confident, because when he goes to court, he presents his case knowing that he's doing the right thing. So Wentagula should be very embarrassed on his move. As the leader of the legislature, both the minority and the majority, which the majority is artificial according to me, it's not organic. He represents everybody in the parliament. And I don't think everybody in that parliament agrees with his move.
Yes.
And those are still the illegalities that they are continuing to do, even when they should not do. That's another illegality on top of other illegalities they have done. So if I saw the Attorney General go to court, I have no problem because he's the legal advisor to the government. Is legally binded kutetea and appeal to within the framework of the constitution some of the things the government wants to appeal or do, but not the speaker. The speaker should be neutral. The speaker should listen to both houses. He should even condemn some UDA people when they are doing bad things. Because even Kingi sometimes kicks out, in as much as Kingi disappointed me, Kingi can kick out Sifuna, but at the same time, Kingi can kick out Cheregai and want Cheregai. So what I'm saying is that a speaker like Kingi, in as much as I look at him differently and I wonder, why did he go to UDA? Sometimes when I watch the Senate, I feel like he is very, very neutral. I cannot lie to you. He's very sober when he's sitting up there. But Wentagula is arrogant. He doesn't listen to the other side. Like Baba said the other day, they pass 3 bills in a day. You have to read the bill, discuss the bill. How do you allow, there's another bill they allowed only 3 people to speak. And they passed it. That's Wentagula's speakership. So I think the Supreme Court ought to embarrass that guy and tell him off, because I think he's drunk with power and he is bitter with Baba because Baba alimtoa minority Senate leader wakati aligundua they have started working with Ruto. So, when as a party, you see your own people working with the other people, what do? He did the right thing and go there. That's loyalty to the party. So Wentagula is still bitter until today. And the other thing is bitter is because his brothers defected to ODM the other day and he's the only one left. And I tell you, his brother Wanyonyi might be the next governor. We do not know. So there's a vendetta that Wentagula has against Baba. You can see it always because the words he uses sometimes are not right. So let him not rush to court because of the victories. Those victories were not for Azimio. They were for the nation. Because even the UDA people on the ground were complaining about what? The housing levy. See the Azimio only. The NHIF, the new one.
And therein lies my question. He represents both majority, minority, those who supported and opposed the levy in equal measure. This is a house that is known for debates. It's a house that you are at liberty to stand your ground, all right? But if the speaker, the one who is supposed to stand at the middle, the one who's supposed to be neutral, take for example me, the one who's supposed to be neutral, I choose to to side with one side and even take the matters to court. Does it derail and erode all the gains we have made in parliament, of which we have, because we no longer have an independent parliament? But when the speaker goes to court to defend government, what does even that mean? Honest, what does that even mean, Mr. G? You in a mansion for real?
Jex, okay, before I comment on that issue of going to court, a speaker can side with somebody when there is truth in it. Unajua kuna sometimes unapata something imeonekana kabisa, this thing is wrong. Ana pale inambidi the speaker sasa inabidi pia anaendea hapo, at least he side with those people ambao understand the right thing. But here is a guy ambaye ukijaribu kuongea anything is either kukick out of the parliament ama akuonye. Hataki kusikia anything ambao utajabu kuani. At any time you give your own points, hataki kusikia anything. Yeye ashakuwa concerned na UDA party, alafu amekuwa ni mtu wa kuplease the president. Okay, going to this thing, going to courts. Lex ame explain hapa vizuri kabisa. This is a work of Attorney General to do it, but Attorney General hata haonekani. Sijui ni kama kuna something ambayo atuelewi ama nini, sijajua. That's why I say it's just abomination. How can a speaker go to court? Or just imagine, how can a speaker go to court? Inaingia aje kwa akili kitu kama hiyo kwanza? Haingii kwa akili.
Anaweza enda kotini, but you see, anaenda kurepresent a matter that it is not even in his in history ya gava. It is not his docket. It's not his history at parliament. Parliament did its work. President alisha sign, so mwenye kotini ni preso, all right? Yeye ndo hata implement his story. Where does parliament come in all this, Mr. G? Parliament
but another thing, but Jex, another thing, this thing ni court ambayo imetuambia it is illegal, the process is illegal. Why is it? And is it that ana support impunity? Ana support impunity ama ni nini? Back to you, Jex.
And it is not just him, but I want to play a clip from him. It's not just him. Shulei the other day on a national TV spoke as though she was speaking kama Isaac Mwaura as the government spokesperson, saying we were taken to court, we lost, we had this plan, we wanted to implement housing, this is what we apply. You know, he spoke as though Isaac Mwaura, government spokesperson. Alex, what do you make of this unbecoming behavior of both the speaker and his deputy in as far as defending the government, yet their role is well cut out for them?
I think this thing hit them hard. They thought it's going to be a walkover, and the rejection of this thing, the rejection of this thing is not. It's not Azimio. It is the ground. Even the UDA majority people are questioning, because as I said earlier, when you look at the ground, people are saying some people bought affordable units, okay, that Uhuru had built. All those units were bought by civil servants. There are some that were 4,000, there were some that were 3,000, there were some that were 300. I mean, actually yesterday when you gave us that statistics, we needed to put it into account to hesab how many units were. Now, you're already paying for that, okay? How dare again are you going to be told to take 2.7? For what reason? Now, there are people who are 50. They're almost retiring because Dalmas Otieno, when he was a minister for during the coalition, he pushed the age of retirement to 60. Now they put it back to 55. So the people who are 50, almost retiring, mbona unawatoa pesa? And these people have already built. They are finished building. I mean, the whole thing, if you look at it, it's forcing. You are forcing something. You know, you are forcing things. They ought to have done what is right. Go to KOTU, go to NAT, go to labor unions, so that the labor unions will sit down and come up with a framework and exclude those who are already having mortgages and find a path on how to do it. You can force the age gap between if it's people wanaandikwa at 21 to maybe at 40. There was need for a framework, but now you want to task everybody, including people who have already taken mortgage from the government, previous government. You know, it is hurting that this man could not go through labor unions, speak with them, and that's the protocol. Then, first of all, they were to do public participation, and that public participation was to go through, various corporations. Then after public participation, then they hold meeting with the various labor unions that we have. After that, then the thing goes to parliament, so that as we go to parliament, it is on agreed, on a national level. If parliament rubber stamps and take it forward, then at least it took the stages it ought to take. It is not now that you are going to do public participation and we are already in court. What does that help? Ni kama mtihani imeisha, unaanza kusomea mtihani. Jex, does that make sense?
Not really.
So what we are saying is that whatever they are doing now is null and void. The thing is already in court. Let's deal with it again. If they want to appeal, it is okay. It's all the rights of the president to appeal because of his petty project. But I don't think in his manifesto, because I tried to look at the UDA manifesto on a level to see how they were talking about the housing levy, yeah, the housing, affordable housing. I did not see. I saw the 3%. I don't know how they changed it to 1.5%. I saw it was 3%, but the way they explained it, it was like they are going to be affordable. They are not going to be millions of money. If you look at Uhuru's affordable housing, people are not paying even up to 100,000 deposit. People are paying 75. There are people who are extremely poor who are paying 25,000. And if they don't get it, there was a model that money was gotten from circles, like the way G was saying. That is what we call affordable housing. And the other reason that people are refusing is the 350,000 deposit. How are you going to get that money? So affordable housing, like the ones I saw that they built Shoita Shitanda, during when Shoita Shitanda was the minister for, I think, Kibaki era, there was some affordable housing that were put somewhere in Nyanchwa in Kisi. People were putting zero deposit. Zero deposits. And I think some of them have already finished paying that money in less than 10 years. So whatever is calling
let me ask you something. If we were to relate some of the bills that we pay, when I pay NHIF, I go to the hospital, I don't pay anything because I'm already covered. When I pay this housing levy, shouldn't I be covered? I should now get the house without this stories a deposit. I now continue now paying if it is rent to own.
That is
this levy equal?
That is the main purpose of affordable housing. If you look at people like Singapore, who came up with affordable housing, people are going there without paying anything, and they were given a gap, a breather, for 1 year, so that after 1 year they are able now. You cannot complain that you can't pay, okay? Because these people, remember, who do not have jobs that probably are not permanent and pensionable, job inaweza isha anytime. So what do? There's a framework that you put to protect even when they lose their job. So we do not have a clear mandate on how we are handling this affordable housing. It says that we shall give it to what? Private investors who build these houses, and then wao watapewa pesa, and then they will go back to the government, and the government will start dealing with the people. I think the whole process, the way the PS once explained it in Spice FM, you know, I was perturbed in the way, because he was in South Africa, and the person who brought him back to Kenya was Raila, because of the job he had done about affordable housing in South Africa. So when Raila went to South Africa and met him, he anaitwa Hinga ama Hingi, something like that.
Charles Hinga.
Yeah, they had a plan that was very clear. There was no percentage and there was no deposit. The government had to chip in and make sure that these people can leave this house in 25 years, wamalize. But there was a model, if they miss their mortgage, how the government covers it so that the person may not lose the house, because these are affordable housing. But when you sell a house at 3.5 million, Jakes, acha nikuulize, you have worked. And right now, you know, people are working in Kenya. After all those taxes, you go and take a loan again to put it at a deposit. Does it make any sense? It doesn't. So for me, this is a scam. It's not affordable housing. Let them not call it affordable housing. And now, Bernard, and I don't know why I'm calling you Bernard. Jax, the first thing is this. Land is free. There's no VAT. of 16%. How does that free land? How does, because land speculation is one of the biggest problems that we have in Kenya. For instance, there are some places land is more expensive than the house. Karen, Lavington, and Muthaiga. Buying land alone is more expensive than the house you are going to build, which shouldn't be so. In Africa, we are number one in land speculation. Go here in Tanzania, ukienda Dar es Salaam. I mean, land is so cheap. I know my friend that used to work for me from TZ. He bought land at a very cheap price, 10,000 CBD, $10,000 CBD. Wewe unaweza pata CBD $10,000 hata Kitengela, unaweza pata hata for 10,000. So we must work on the way that our land speculation is overdue. But what I'm saying is this: land is free. You saw them demolish houses somewhere in Mombasa. They went and demolished some houses so that they can build, which does not make any sense. You demolish people's houses, and then you say you are going to put affordable housing there. The whole thing has caused harm to Kenyans. Okay, especially the land that they are trying to get by force, and that's what I think they want to do to War Memorial of the 25 acres that War Memorial Hospital has there. I think they are trying to put those affordable housing there. The plan is to close the hospital completely and put those houses there, including, they said that there was an airport that Ikonyuma State House. Somebody was explaining that thing somewhere. And when I heard them say that that land also they are going to take, I was just pissed off and I stopped listening to it. But the whole thing about affordable housing has brought a peril to some of our people in this country, especially demolition. They are demolishing some places, but people are not complaining anymore. But the people of Mombasa complained because the demolition was a very good posh area for people of middle class. How dare you demolish their houses without even being told? You demolish, auchukui TV yako, auchukui nguo yako, wewe unapata tu hizi vitu za kudemolish zimekuja demolish. The whole thing has caused, a crisis within the country. But your question is very clear that, for me, what I understand and what Hinga explained was that freelance VAT inatolewa, and ikishatolewa, so the person that is selling you chuma, mabati na kila kitu, yeye anapewa, ananunua vitu hata yeye free of VAT. Akikuja ata make profit yake. The whole process, the way he explained it, is not what they are doing right now.
Yes, Mr. G.
Just to comment something on what Alex has said. On this issue of Mombasa demolition, those houses, those guys, they're senior people working in port. I don't know, the problem is that those houses were somehow cheap. They are so cheap. When I part somebody paying maybe 12,000, somebody's paying maybe 10,000 a month. Now, I think wanapatiana ile, how do you call it? There's a barua, inaitwaje, nimesahau jina yake tena. What notice? You are given a notice, alafu napewa kama a week ama 2 months, at least you go out. Hao watu wanaletewa notice leo na leo wanabomolewa nyumba. Kumbuka ni watu ambao wamezoea kuishi kwa nyumba ambazo ziko cheap. Some of them wamechukua loans, hawana pesa. Alafu sasa kumbuka, in Mombasa here, kupata nyumba, utapata nyumba ya almost 15,000, 20,000, na umezoea kulipa nyumba ya 10,000. Hiyo pesa hauna, utaenda kwa nyumba gani? So it was painful for these people. Na kumbuka wako na watoto wadogo. They are not prepared. Alafu mwakuja tu, wengine hata iliwapata wakiwa hapo kazini. Hawakuja nini inaendelea. So it is bad what Ruto is doing. Hata mimi nashangaa mtu ambaye ana support Ruto. Mtu ambaye ana support Ruto, I think akili yake haiko sawa, kwa sababu what is really, look at Kisumu, what is happening in Kisumu. In Kisumu kumekuwa na maandamano leo. Okay, nilikuwa nataka niongelee something different from that maandamano. Kumekuwa na maandamano
ya Kisumu.
Yeah. Okay, wacha niachane na hiyo ya Kisumu. But naweza ongea tu dakika moja kwa hiyo ya Kisumu. Nilikuwa nataka kuongea kwa the government imeamua kwa wabomolewe vibanda zao. Ona vile jamaa wamejitokeza nje kuprotest. Sijiona wakibia mtu yoyote. But when we start to protest kama Azimio, kitu ya kwanza ambacho tunaambiwa kwa sisi tunaenda kuvunja nyumba za watu, sijui tunaenda kuiba nini, sijui tunaenda kuvunja business za watu, and yet hivi yote kwa ni propaganda ya UDA. Leo wamepata hawako ready. Yaani wamewapata off guard. Kwa sababu wangekuwa tayari shanunua maguns, wameenda kuchoma vitu waseme kuwa Azimio wana protest na nini kubomoa vitu na kuibia watu. Sasa leo wamepata off guard, hakuna kitu wamefanya, hakuna anything ambayo imehappen, but what I'm trying to say ni kuwa what they are doing is wrong. Kupata mama mboga ambao ulidanganya kwa unakuja kumsaidia, unakuja kumuinua. Mbona ubomoe kibanda yake? Mama bonga, mtu ambaye zipata 1000 a day. Unamvunjia bila hata kumpatia ni notice. Unamfrustrate, alafu unakuja kwa media unasema wacha wapige kelele vile wanataka, mimi nakubomoa, mimi nitabomoa. Bora directives zimetoka kwa government, mimi naenda kubomoa. Which kind of leaders are we having? Back to you.
All right. Let's listen to what we are talking about just now.
Wentagula has moved to the Supreme Court challenging the Court of Appeal's decision to uphold a High Court judgment that declared the controversial housing tax unconstitutional. The Court of Appeal went ahead to stop government from carrying on with collection of the unconstitutional tax in the notice filed Wednesday. Now, Speaker Wentagula said they were aggrieved with the decision of the court. And we get some more from our very own Chimtai Go In.
In the notice, the National Assembly Speaker expressed Parliament's and the government's dissatisfaction with the decision of the three-judge bench delivered on 26 January, stating the intention to appeal the whole decision in the Supreme Court. Last week, Court of Appeal judges Lydia Achode, John Mativo and Mwaniki Gashoka upheld the High Court's decision, declaring the housing tax as unconstitutional, and further declined to extend previous orders granted that allowed the government to continue deducting the housing tax. The judges pegged their ruling on public interest, terming the levy discriminatory as it only targeted a section of the population, employers and their employees.
The levy shall be at 1.5% of the gross salary of an employee. That covers people who are employed, isn't it? And then the gross income of a person received or accrued which is subject to a levy under paragraph A. That covers everybody else. Because the court said this law is discriminatory if it only applies to employees. We are okay there? Let me just slow down, isn't it? So now what I'm saying is, to that extent, we can tell the courts we have complied. But then tax has got the second phase. How are you going to collect it? The collection bit is 5. When you go to 5, you realize it talks about an employer.
If you read section 6, the Cabinet Secretary for the time being responsible for National Treasury, don't even read it any further. The next word is may. Whereas section 5, an employer shall. So for the employer and the employee, it is obligatory, it's mandatory because it's shall. But for the non-salaried people, it is giving the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, discretion. So may or may not. It doesn't say shall. And that's the gap that the gentleman identifies in law. So actually there actually exists a gap as if you compare section 5 and section 6.
The matter also dominated public hearings on the affordable housing bill, as members of the public questioned why they were being forced to raise monies to construct housing units for individuals who had not given a dime. The Joint Committees of Finance and Housing have since retreated to review the submissions made by members of the public, both orally and through memoranda, before drafting their final report, which will be tabled before the House for debate as soon as it resumes its sittings. Chemutai Goin, Citizen TV.
So that is Wentagula in court. And the first part of that name, very nice, that it is the parliament, it is the National Assembly and the government. At what point does the National Assembly and the government work together and even go to court together? These are two independent arms of government, mandated so different roles. but he goes to parliament, to court, to speak for the government and to speak for parliament. How does even that play out, Mr. G? Itaingiana aje hapo? Because hapo ndipo hata kizungumkuti inanitwanga hilo jaiona.
Hiyo kitu haiwezi kuingia. That's why I ask you, inakuwaje? Ni kitu ambayo you cannot imagine. You know, these guys wamekuwa captured by the state. That's why these things are happening. Because you know, in the parliament today, anything wakitaka kufanya, hata kama ilikuwa ni mswada ambao inakuja kusaidia mwananchi wa chini, utapata wanapigiwa simu kwanza waende State House. Wakishafika State House waambiwe kwa hii kitu inafaa ifanywe vile inafaa iende njia fulani. And you know, the government the president, the state capture the parliament. So parliament they have nothing they can do. Na alafu huyu jamaa amekuwa blind. Huyu papa wa Roma amekuwa blind. Haoni kama he's exposing himself. Because he's just exposing himself to be ignorant. How can a speaker of a parliament anaenda kwa court, anaenda kupresent, anaenda ku defend the nini? You know, that thing is not logic, but sasa hiyo shida ni kwa the moment umekuwa drunk with the power, you just become blind. Sasa unaanza kufanya vitu zingine, unajisahau kabisa. You are doing things ambazo unafikiria ziko sawa lakini haziko sawa. Back to you.
Right. Alex, what do you make of government and parliament? Because even the statement in answer that the National Assembly, together with the government, are not contented with the ruling made. When did we have a unified front between the government and the National Assembly? Given that the National Assembly equally has the other side, the minority side.
The National Assembly is an entity that should be independent, totally from the government. And that is why it has its leader, who is the Speaker. In fact, there is a fund that is given through the Speaker. All loans, all house, everything that they want to do, using money in the Senate and in the lower house. It is through everything that they get. It's like they have their own ministers. They have their minister for housing. They have their own minister for what? They have their minister for. They have their own bank. So it is totally independent. There's no need for the government to work with the executive. Otherwise, why did we choose three arms of the government? Because three arms to govern the country. It's because you have to checkmate each other. The judiciary might become so boisterous to a point that its rulings always is against the government, and they don't have the explanation. So what do? That is when the executive and the legislature enter in, and the legislature can change the law, or the executive can change the judges who are not making the right ruling. The question is, you keep on saying that, okay, we have elements of what do we call corrupt judges. You want to remove judges by force so that you can put those ones that lean towards you. That is illegal too. You see, and that's why I'm saying that Wentagula should understand that the legislature is an independent institution. And sometimes even when you are in power, even if the speaker can decide and say, this bill is not the right for Kenya, because you are independent, even though you are chosen or you by the party in the government, the speaker sometimes can say, there are many things that Marende said to us, no. Did we ever complain? There are many things that Marende, as a speaker, said no to God. And we agreed, we complied. But there are other things also he said no to the other side, which was PNU. I mean, you must be neutral to an extent whereby you are respected as a speaker, and people can know that they can come to you as the speaker because you can listen to them. Today, Otienda Molo, I think 3 days ago, said that there was a bill that was passed in one day, whereby only 3 people spoke. When Otienda Molo carried his hand on point of order, he was denied. And they passed the bill within 10 minutes. So he was asking, do we really have a parliament anymore? He said there is no need even for him to go to parliament anymore, because the way things are being done, you are not debating. You're not debating bills. And let me tell you, Jax, the worst thing that ever happened to Kenya is when we introduced this thing called CDF. Now, people come to parliament to man the CDF, not to make laws. If CDF was never there, you could be seeing, like, for example, here or UK, bipartisan, people come together and they make a bipartisan bill that, you know, if we could be only in our party, it cannot go through. So you find Millie Adhiambo na Sholei wanakuja pamoja, alafu wanatafuta watu wengine, wanasema tafadhali, wacha hawa wanataka kupitisha hii bill, najua mtaki kuipitisha, lakini I think it's good. Na sisi tunataka kupitisha hii. In consensus, they do that. But what do we do? By Thursday, most of the MPs wametoka Nairobi, wanaenda nyumbani matanga, michango, bursaries. But the work of a legislature is to debate and convince and make laws for this country that are progressive. Just there are people who have not stepped in that parliament, wanakujanga tu hivi clerk anawaona, wanatoka wanaenda. People who have never spoken in parliament and who will never speak in parliament, and yet they are parliamentarians because of CDF. So Wentagula is also part and parcel of this problem, because he created an artificial majority, and he knows that that artificial majority, when the other joined them, they were given the rules of engagement, whereby if a bill comes to the House, they must rubber stamp it, not debate it, just rubber stamp it. So we are in an era of rubber stamping. That is not at the legislature. Look at the UK Parliament; they debate like crazy. Look at the Parliament in America. The Republicans removed their speaker because their speaker was not doing the right work. And it took them 2-3 months to get another speaker, which was deadly to the country. But now they have a speaker who listens to both places, but it's their speaker. The other one was listening to Democrats more than the other side. So, I mean, Wentagula is not neutral. Why is he going to court where we have gone? We were dissatisfied with the ruling that he made. We went to court. Why is he going to court? Like who? Where is the Attorney General? Where is the legal advisor to the? Where is the legal advisor to the government? That's the question. That is not his work. His work is the head of that. So, if he had to go anywhere, is to have a meeting with Muturi, not go to court himself. I think he's going to be embarrassed.
Mr. G, of course, when you read this petition, he and the government, of course, they were the respondents, or rather applicants in this, them being respondent 1 and 2. But really, who ought to have gone and do this appeal? Was it the National Assembly or the government through the AG, as Alex was trying to say? Who really ought to have done this? Is it really is it so much for the parliament to do it, or for the government to do it? Because I think when these houses are constructed, the buck is not stopping with parliament, it's stopping with the executive. So who really ought to have appealed this?
You know, yes, on the issue of appealing, I think Alex have just explained it here that we have three arms of government. And this is the government, the executive, and we have the parliament. But I don't know. For me, I'm really confused with what is happening nowadays in our court, in our parliament, because things that are happening in our parliament, and parliament is just there as a building nowadays. Because kwa sasa ukienda kwa mwananchi wa chini, the parliament is not helping any person. Nowadays, there's nothing that a person, a normal person can get from the parliament. There's nothing that he can bank. Maybe asema mimi sasa sahi, I'm crossing my MP. He'll fight for me. I'm crossing my just the MPs. The parliament in Maribika with this issue of state capture, the executive, Amarib this government, Amarib this parliament. Nowadays, there's nothing that we can trust parliament to do. That's why when I'm scared, Alex Akakwambia, they can pass a bill in the afternoon, 2 bills, some 3 bills in the afternoon. Ameongea sahi kuhusu what he said, what the Rarieda MP amesema. He tried, ainue mkono just kuongea kitu. Huyu mtu alimnyama, huyu nani alimnyima? Papa wa Roma alimnyima. Now, what can we do if the parliament cannot stand on their own to fight for our country? What will we do? I know very well that executive wako na attorney general.
At one point,
in case of any, at one point.
Sorry, I wanted to bring in the video where he said he thanks God that Raila won't be president, because now that one even complicates the whole matter altogether.
Exactly. There's a problem with our country. There is a problem with our country. That's why we always, in fact, what nasema, let's go the way our constitution says. Our constitution imetupatia mandate kama wananchi wa Kenya to picket, to protest. We to protest such things. Kwa sababu hii ni kitu ambao ni aibu sasa kwa our country. It is wrong for what is happening right now. But we are only given that mandate by our constitution. But the executive hawajakubali. Hiyo ndio chance ambayo anatumia kutumiza. Hiyo ndio chance ambayo anatumia kutuangamiza. But the only solution ambayo inaweza tusaidia, nani, Jex, the only thing ambayo inaweza save mwananchi wa chini sahi ni kuprotest. Kusema amechoka. Because they are given that power by our constitution. But hatutapewa chance ya kuparticipate kwa sababu ya huyu mtu hapendi. Executive hawapendi. That's why kila mahali wakienda, umesikia leo nani anaongea? Umesikia vile deputy president anaongea? He doesn't have a speech. The only thing anaweza sema ni kuwa we find empty coffers. Kila siku kila mahali anaenda ni empty coffers. Empty coffers ndio tulipata. Sasa hiyo empty coffers inatusaidia nini exactly? And these are things that happened
now.
almost more than one and a half years ago.
I'll be coming to that in this hour of this discussion. But let's listen in to what Weta said during a certain
Minister wa serikali na mzee akisema maneno yenye mimi siwezi kuelewa. Alisema spika wa bunge huyu Papa wa Roma asipeleke miswada ambayo imepitishwa bunge kwa rais kuweka mkono. Ati nikienda inakuwa compromise. Kwanza mkienda kwa mitandao mtaona wakati yeye alikuwa prime minister wa serikali na mzee Kibaki, yeye amesimama hapo anatabasamu, mzee Kibaki anaweka sahihi miswada na ule amepeleka alikuwa ni speaker Marende. Mbona hakusema wakati huo? Juzi president ameita mkutano ya viongozi wa mikono mitatu ya serikali. Na iko mikono mitatu. The executive led by the president. The judiciary led by Mother Koome. And the legislature led by Papa wa Roma. Mikono ngapi? Tatu. Of the same government. Sasa kama tunakutana kuboresha mambo ya nchi, iko shida gani? Iko shida gani? Na sisi tulikutana na president na chief justice. The president is not complaining. The chief justice is not complaining. The speaker is not complaining. But there are those who are crying and wailing louder than the bereaved. Wewe ukiwa president mzee Raila, and thank God that you've never been and is unlikely that you will be. Kazi ya speaker, miswada ikipitishwa, Article 115 of the Constitution says the speaker presents the bill to the president for assent. So do we present by remote control? Hii mambo ni magumu. Unajua Shakespeare alisema, if you had kept your mouth shut, one would have thought you are clever. Lakini vile unasema ndio mambo yanakuwa mbaya. Mambo ya Nzoia. Nataka kuomba wabunge wetu, nyinyi mlichaguliwa na wananchi kuwatetea.
All right. Now, Alex, he thanks God that Raila Odinga has never been a president. Really, was that becoming of a speaker to utter such a statement?
Amesema he will never, amesema he will never be a president. Amesema he will never be a president.
You know,
was it called for him to speak like that?
No, I regret for Raila campaigning for this guy when the petition, the by election within and the combo was. And it, you know, the paradox of helping people who later betray you is quite in the politics of Kenya. And, you know, right now you will talk like this, but he doesn't know where his relationship and Ruto will go. So, I mean, when you talk like this, as if you become a speaker forever, you know, you ought sometimes to be humble enough to understand that these jobs are not permanent. These jobs have tenures. Or the other day, the president almost died because the accident, I saw the way the car was. Thank God, Mungu alimsaidia. I think he may have prayed that morning that God take me and bring me back safely. You can be driving your car here, and the next thing we hear is that you are dead. You've dropped dead. You see, when you speak with humility sometimes. I mean, this kind of arrogance is appalling. But, you know, he has a right to do that. However, go back in history and also see where you have come from this person. These are hypocrites. If today, you say, Baba, and I'm not wishing Baba dead. If we say today Baba died, they will come there with crocodile tears and say, oh, we worked with him, this happened. And that's why Malema during Mama Mandela, Winnie Mandela's funeral, he didn't know, he said, Mama, give us a sign. Some of these people are the one who criticized you like crazy. Be humble enough because you are a leader. You know, when Raila gives a criticism, he balances to an extent that whenever funerals come around, akienda huko, he speaks of how they worked this person, what happened, ABCD. But the arrogance I see in Wentagula, I think is appalling. I don't know why he became so bitter wakati akitolewa to be the minority leader in the Senate. He became extremely bitter. That thing made him extremely bitter, you know? And that bitterness still is there. You know, at his age 69, you should not have a vendetta. You know, Wentagula is almost 70. I can forgive Ndindi Nyoro. I can forgive Peter Selassie, I must be in. because youth is a time of making mistakes. But at the age of when you have even become the speaker, you must now understand. Remember when Wako was the Attorney General? He never played politics at all. You never saw him play politics. Even Marende, he stopped playing politics. You see Muturi does not play politics at all. And even when he was a speaker, he never played politics. This is the first speaker we are seeing that is playing politics, who has refused to fold his party, which is illegal. You know, he's not supposed to be affiliated with any party. He has refused to fold his party, and he knows the illegality of the things that he's done. And if somebody was to go to court today, I mean, it should not be, because as a Speaker of the House, you should not be affiliated with any party. But still, when it comes to the NEC and the organization of Ford Kenya, he's still going to his party. So you can understand what manner of guy he is. Because of the power vested on him as a speaker, he speaks the way he wants, he does anything he wants, and he has the authority to abuse people. But it's okay. It's okay. Let him do it. One thing I know is that these seats are not permanent. Today you may wake up upata stroke ingine mbaya sana. Naelewa. So be humble enough to understand that. Don't use your seat to tell others that you will never be. We thought Ruto will never be, but he became. We were humbled.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't say you will never be. The very person who say, kata miti sugoi, kata miti, jamaa sikuja kujinyonga, he humbled himself and went, and they're working with him. So already Wentagula as a speaker. Why should he talk like that? And he's already a speaker. You already have a seat that is powerful in the country. Why should you speak like a baby? You know? And that's playing politics, and it's not supposed to play politics. Thanks, Jax.
All right. Alex, thank you. And equally, Mr. G, before we go to the next part of this show. Asante sana wewe ambao unajiunga nasi kama kawa. Thank you for keeping it Afrique 24. Thank you for always being part of these great conversations that happens here at Afrique 24 kila wakati inapotimia hii masaa. And did I tell you of a new program that started last Friday? It airs again this coming Friday, and why this one? Usikose. Find out what I'm talking about by sticking around. We have another interesting show happening every Friday from 8 p.m. From 8 p.m. Are you single? Hiyo show ni yako. Umepata divorce moja moto sana, hiyo show usikose. Ex alikufanya ile kitu, alikula fare, akakuacha heartbroken kama beste yangu moja ako kwa show, mpaka una feel manze, jamaa manzi alinifanya vibaya sana, vile Mr. G alifanywa hapa nje.
But
ex wako alikufanya vipi? Alright,
Jackson Aribu is not my ex bana. It is Kome who broke my heart, not my ex.
Oh, it is Kome. Oh, sorry. But equally, hiyo show pia ni yako kwa sababu hapo utafunzwa jinsi ya kudeal na heartbreak hata ya Martha Kome. All right. Thank you very much. What am I talking about? Even as I take a breather kidogo, this show usikose. All right, Bed of Roses happening this Friday at 8 p.m. with those lovely, beautiful ladies, and of course MC JC will be in the house. Kindly usikose. What am I talking about? This is what
Join
I'm
us every
talking
Friday
about.
from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. for a captivating journey into the world of love, relationships, and romance, presented by the dynamic trio Maggie Knox, MC Jesse, and Annie Waweru, Bed of Roses, promises to be your weekly dose of heartwarming stories, insightful discussions, and expert advice on matters of the heart. Whether you're single, in a relationship, or simply love a good love story, this is the show for you. Don't miss out on the chance to unwind and indulge in the joys and challenges of love, all brought to you by our talented hosts. Tune into Africa 24 every Friday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. and let us guide you through the enchanting world of Bed of Roses. Subscribe now and mark your calendars. You don't want to miss this. See you there.
All right. Usikose hiyo show, usikose burudani kabambe. Nakwambia hiyo ni show moja fiti. Bed of Roses here at Africa 24, and I'm telling you walianza Friday and they did a good job. I wait to see what they have in store on this coming Friday. I tell you. Okay, before Mr. G, you do anything, allow me to ask you this. Tunabweka when we talk about the economy. Are we ni kubweka tunabweka ama it's our right to speak about the economy when it's not doing well?
It is our right, Mr. Jakes. Okay, let me first of all comment on this issue ya nani before nikuje kwa economy. Papa wa Roma with this sentiment ambazo aliongea, you know, it makes me feel that Baba should, watu wamekuwa complain wakisema Baba should give the mantle to another person at least survive for presidency. But with this sentiment the Baba ya Papa wa Roma, I think Baba should just go back na simame survive for a presidency if possible 2027 na tumpigie kura achukue, because if somebody like Papa wa Roma anaweza simama as speaker akasema ati Baba hata ikuwa president, ni nani anajua kama Baba hatakuwa president? Yes, Mungu kwanza. How can he talk such a reckless statement tena mbele ya watu, alafu anaongea akiwa ubaluyani, alafu anajidanganya na Tory wakisema kuwa maybe they will put a block in Western Kenya ati watu watapigia Baba. Western Kenya is a block of Baba, is a block of ODM. So wacha kujidanganya, and I'm praying that Baba should be on the ballot in 2027. Tumuonyeshe hii aibu. Let me go back to the question that you asked on the issue of economy. You know, yes, it's not that tunaongea tu kuongea. There is a problem with our economy. Now, I will just give you an example of why we are supposed to talk about this thing. You know, I think it was in 1981, between 1981 and 1985 to 1989, when Reagan came in. Reagan alichukua from Jimmy Carter, sindio? The president of America. I think he took over from Jimmy Carter. Yeah, and Jimmy Carter alikuwa amechukua madeni mengi sana America. In fact, the economy was doing poor. In fact, but that is the time when America 80% ya pesa ambayo inaingia kwao ilikuwa inaenda kwa madeni peke yake. So it is as if Reagan alichukua that economy ikiwa the same vensi tuko hapa Kenya. Everything was not working. Nothing was working. But when the guy took over, we are being told that he gave chance to private investors wafanye business. He opened the opportunity ya watu kufanya business. He opened opportunity, and we are being told that alitumia a strategy called, I heard Nani talking about this issue. I heard it was Jim Wanjigi who was talking about this issue, that he said that he used a supply side economy. And that is when aliweza kumanage what he was going through. And on this supply side economy, I think there are some factors ambazo zina deal na that thing, the supply, because there is an increase in supply of goods and services. Now tunajua kabisa kuwa anything that concerns supply of goods and services, it is the engine of economic growth. In our economy sahi, ama in our country sahi, Ruto is not giving even our private investors time to work their business in a place whereby they can grow their business, whereby they can even ajiri watu, these mama mbogas, these hustlers in Kenya. They are not getting the chance. The environment is not conducive for business. That's why investors wanakimbia Kenya wakienda other countries like in Tanzania. Some are running to Uganda doing business because in Kenya the environment is not conducive. Now, when things are happening the way it is, hakuna vitu expect our economic grow, kwa sababu one thing ni kuwa for economic grow lazima tu advocate for tax cut. Hakuna siku ambayo utakuwa na tax mwananchi wa chini kuanzia juu chini right center kila mahali unamkata, na mtu mwenyewe hata hiyo pesa yenyewe haitoshi, hiyo pesa ambayo anapata haitoshi, na unamkata kila wakati. When Reagan came in fact hiyo taxes alipunguza, haku increase taxes, alipunguza taxes, and he created an environment for people to participate, people to build their business, to grow their businesses. Another thing, hiyo mambo ya state, kila wakati state inasimamia kila kitu, alitoa akapatia nafasi kwa watu, the private sectors to take over some activities, and tunaambiwa kuwa the economy of that country will grow. In fact kufikia sahi tunaambiwa sahi I think it is almost 13% ambayo inaenda kwa loan in that country. For us sahi tuko kwa 80%, na within 2 weeks ama 3 weeks our dollar itakuwa imefika around 200. When will our economy destabilize? Ikuwa rates, exchange rate that is to affect. Sahi dola inapanda kila siku, dola inapanda kila siku, dola inapanda. So for we to talk about economy, Mr. Jex, economy is doing bad in Kenya. Is really doing bad. Na sahi importers are not importing things. Na because of that, the more wanakosa kuimport, that is the more tunaendelea ku lose. Unajua this one thing ambayo iliangusha the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union, wakati mambo ilikuwa imeanza kuwa mbaya, things ilikuwa haziwaki, hazifanyi kazi. Guys hawakuja wakaelewa kuwa kulikuwa na issue inakuja ku happen, kulikuwa na disaster inakuja ku happen. But there is a guy from America, he was ambassador of America, ambaye alikuwa ameenda kwa hiyo country huko kwa Soviet Union, na aliketi, I think it was in 1940 when he predicted na akasema the way things are happening here in Soviet Union, things will not work. The kitu itakufa. The procedure, the policies ambazo zinafanyika sahi with the current situation, kitu haita work. Those guys, they never listened to him, and this guy was a foreigner in that country. Hawakumsikiza, but what happened? Silikuja kukufa. Ilikufa. So we need people who can listen to advices. We have people who sees these things. Na wanajua kuwa economy inafanya vibaya. President should listen to those people who are telling him that economy is not doing good. Aache mambo ya kutax watu right center and every place, every corner na tax watu. Hiyo haisaidii. That's why even KRS hii hawezi kupata ile pesa kwa anapata kitambo, kwa sababu watu wanaficha pesa. Watu sahi hawapay tax. Wanaficha kwa sababu hiyo pesa yenyewe kupay tax hakuna. Sahi pesa haiziko mfukoni, and he is the guy ambaye anadanganya watu kwa pesa zitakuwa mfukoni. Things are not working in Kenya because the policies that they are doing, they are following this place. It's the wrong policy. Back to you.
All right. Alex, let's listen into this even as we wrap up the show. We wrap up today with one Rigiji, and it's what I've asked. Kama kazi yetu ni kubweka, tunabweka. When we ask about the economy, listen to how one Rigiji, Rigathi Gachagua, had to explain what it is we are doing when we ask about the economy. He says that they found the coffers empty. They found a dilapidated economy. They found that there was nothing in our coffers. In any case, we had more debts from here to Timbuktu. All right, the debts was so much, and that's what William Ruto last year, according to him, was working very hard to do. And this year, 2024, it's when he has now begun doing something. So last year kazi ilikuwa tu kulipa madeni. How true that is, I don't know. The jury is still out there. But let's listen in to this great man, Mr. Rigiji, our deputy president.
If mzazi anahangaika kidogo ya uniform, aendelee kusoma na ile ya zamani, mzazi akitafuta uniform. Ikipatikana aendelee. Si ndio? Kama iko shida ya desk, kulikuwa na desk kwa hiyo shule, mtoto waendelee, kwa sababu lazima hii watoto wasome. Hao watoto ndio kesho yetu. Si ndio? Si ndio? Ndio hiyo. Na mimi niseme sisi katika serikali yetu tunataka tukae na umoja, hatutaki mgawanyiko, tunataka tuunganisha Wakenya. Na hatutaki kugawa Wakenya kwa misingi ya kikaunti. We want to unite the people of Kenya so that Kenya can speak as one country and we can be able to make progress going forward. Na mimi nataka nishukuru hawa MPs wako hapa wote wameandamana na mimi kwa sababu katika constituencies zao wanaendelea na kazi nzuri. Na tunataka kuuliza MPs hao wetu wakubali mwaliko wa rais na agizo ya Rais William Ruto kwa ile pesa ambaye wamepewa ya CDF, wakubali to take over the needs of schools. Ndio sisi kama serikali kuu watuachie the software, mambo ya walimu na mambo ya computers, mambo ya vitabu, so that we can partner together with the National Government Development Fund and the Ministry of Education to move our education forward. Na mimi nikimalizia hapo niseme watu ya Kajiado asanteni sana, na niseme Senator Tobiko, nimekusikia. Umesema watu yote wakuje. Tumekaribisha kila mtu. And I want to assure you, hakuna mtu State House anaweza fungiwa hata moja. State House is open. We have an open door policy to all leaders who are genuine. Mukuje State House muonane na rais. Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya ni mtu ya bottom up. Niseme. Mimi nataka.
All right, sorry, I'll be getting that part directly. Sorry for that. Oh my goodness, sorry for that. It imekuwa longer. But what we are looking at is his sentiments that
tulize viongozi wenzangu katika Kenya Kwanza, wakiwemo magavana, wakiwemo maseneta, wakiwa wabunge. Let us be sensitive to the people of Kenya. Tukubali ya kwamba hii ni wakati ya kazi, hii hapana wakati ya siasa. Sisi tumetoka uchaguzi juzi. It is insensitive and unfair to the people of Kenya to talk about succession 10 years from now. This is a time to work for the people of Kenya. Na mimi ningetaka kuuliza viongozi wote wawachane na mambo ya siasa ya succession.
Rigathi Gachagua has maintained that the country's economic recovery is on an upward trajectory, urging Kenya government project the country. The deputy president criticized the opposition for portraying the government negatively, despite the implemented measures to enhance the country's economy. He emphasized the government regarding the nation's economic direction.
Kuna watu wanabweka sijui nini mambo ya uchumi. Wacha niseme ukweli. And I want to talk where the media is here. When President William Ruto took over the reins of government, day one, in my speech in Kasarani, I told the people of Kenya during daylight, in clear and plain language, that we had a dilapidated economy and the funds were empty. Wengine wakasema mimi ni mjeuri, nimeongea mbele ya wageni, lakini nikasema mimi ni mtu ya kusema ukweli. Rais alipata store, hakuna kitu, hata panya wamepotea, hakuna kitu ya kukula. Na mimi nilisema sikusema. Kama singesema mungesema mambo ingine. So the president has 1 year. Rais wetu mwaka mmoja amekuwa anang'ang'ana na mambo ya deni. Amekuta deni ya 9.6 trillion ilichukuliwa na ile watu ya handshake. Na ukipata deni lazima ulipe. Rais ameng'ang'ana na hii maneno ya madeni for 1 year, ndio imeingia laini sasa. Na ndio Januari hii rais ameanza sasa kwenda kufanya kazi kwa sababu uchumi umeanza kurudi kwa laini.
All right. And hiyo ndio tunamalizia nayo show wadau. I want to begin with you, Alex. Tunabweka kweli or Wakenya wanabweka wanapo uliza stories za uchumi and government kuperform. Kubweka na kizungu, is it backing? I think so, right? Are we backing?
Of course we are.
What we do?
Yes, we are. That's what,
Are
because
we in the right place to back? If that's correct.
Yes. You see, it depends on the state of the mind of a person. You know, he himself is debilitated. The mindset is debilitated. So if you said we are, so you can't, you know, Jakes, your state of mind, I can't change your state of mind. Remember, even Madam Suluhu said it openly that the problem is the vice president of Kenya. He does not know, he doesn't have manners. If a president of another country can say that, remember there was a time even Ruto had to tell him to have table manners. He had to tell him to have table manners because the guy could not even use the spoon in a right way. So his state of mind is debilitated. So whatever he says, I don't take care of it. Anaambia watoto kama unajua huyu jamani mjinga sana. Anaambia watoto kama una uniform this year, end of year last year. Umesikia? Kama una desk, enda mtumie ile ya last year. What is that? Is that a solution? Kama mtu ametoka class 8, ameenda form 1, aenda atumie hiyo uniform. That guy's state of mind is wanting. So when he says things, he's a comedian. Just laugh and leave him alone. He tell him, unaambia watoto. Alafu unaambia kama desk hakuna, enda utumie ile. So tuende tutoe desk kutoka class 8 tupeleke form 1. Jake, sometimes don't put this guy here. I mean, anaharibu, you know, he may corrupt your state of mind.
We are.
Unaona hata unajikuna sahi.
Now I'm a very fair person. We have to talk about everyone and everything. Mr. G, Alex says we are backing, but what do you make of that sentiment?
I did not say we are backing. I said according to his state of mind, we are backing. Okay? So we know what we are doing, but according to him, we are backing. And I have told you his state of mind is one thing, because anaambia watoto,
all right,
why uniform ya last year? Kama una uniform, he doesn't give substantive solution. And then he's happy there, thinking that he's talking sense. So for us, we know we are not backing. But according to his state of mind, so we cannot change a degenerated person. You leave him to be the way he is. That's why even the president, early as this, wants to change him within the Europe. Everybody is complaining about the language of this guy. He has at least Lea ameenda Kajiado. He has that mayor of consciousness. Yani ni Nyeri tu. Lea at least ameenda diaspora. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. G. And equally, we are joined by my good friend, author from Botswana, Mr. A&M Fighter. Yes,
no,
Mr.
we are
G.
closing the show, man. We are closing the show. Some of us are tired. Mr. G is tired.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I'll give it some moments. I'll allow you guys to, but yes, Mr. G.
Yeah, Jex, the issue that is happening at the moment, I just agree with Alex with Amesema. You cannot change somebody's state of mind, and there is somebody thinks you cannot change that. This is a guy ambaye amekuwa kwa government as a deputy president for 1.5 years. But remember, akisimama mpaka aongee kwa tulipata dilapidated ni coffers, mpata coffers nini, tulipata dilapidated economy. And this is the guy, he has been there for more than 1.5 years. Ambaye at least angekuwa na kitu ambaye anaweza kutuambia every day, angekuwa anatuambia something new. Anakuja anatuambia that our economy is is being established. How many investors wanatoka Kenya? Most of the investors wametoka Kenya. Importers that they are around side, they are not importing anything. hawaimport, hakuna kazi inafanyika, business are not working in our country. Yeye anatuambia kuwa sasa wamesha establish. Let's go back to hizo madeni debits ambayo anasema kwa sahi ni debits ngapi ambao tunadaiwa sahi? Just in 1.5 hours and 1.5 years wamechukua more than what Uhuru took in the same period. Alafu anatuambia kwa sahi wame establish economy. Which economy wame establish? This just lies. Ni mtu ambaye hana anything.
But let's give it to him. You see, he knows what they found. You know, at times I ask this. They know what they found. We didn't get what they found. They know what they found.
But
maybe it's true. Maybe it's true.
But Jex, how long did it take? Wakati aliingia kwa parliament, how long did it take for them kwanza kupiga kelele wakisema wanataka 700 million ya kwenda kununua magari? Ilichukua miezi ngapi? It was less than 3 months. Kwa maana kusema wanaenda kununua magari ya 7 million. Na hapo wametuambia kuwa wamepata dilapidated economy, wamepata empty coffers, panya zimetoroka kwa account. How long did it take for them kwanza kutengeneza hizo maofisi za mabibi na first daughter? So this is a lie. Jex, usikubaliana na huyu mtu. This is just a lie. It's a narrative. Wanatengeneza a narrative kuendelea kuiba.
So Jex, let me ask you a question. And
Please
I want
do.
you to be very honest, Jex. This is for you. Jex, is it logical? Anasema walipata deni ya 9.7 trillion. Is it logical to finish hiyo deni within 1 year? Just tell me.
Ati, I didn't get the question properly. Yes.
They got deni ya 9.7 trillion that they have worked so hard within 1 year wamelipa. Is that logical?
Kwanza hizo wale MNM fighter angenisaidia sana kujibu, but sasa now how do I answer that question without taking any sides? Now my answer would be I wish to know, yes, tulikuta deni ni sawa, it's true, tulikuta deni because one time Uhuru Kenyatta agreed that kama kuna mradi anataka kufanya na kuna pesa anaweza kopa mahali atakopa. So alikuwa anakopa na aliadmit yeye ukopa. So it's true alikuta deni. That one I have to agree. Now my thinking would be that is the figure they found. He talked of 9-point-something trillion as debt. Now in 1 year, what I need to be furnished with is, in 1 year, this is the much we have been able to pay. In 1 year, this from the 9 that we found, this far, due to the hard work that we have done, me and the president and the government, this is the much now we have paid. From 9, a good scorecard would tell you we found it at 9, now we are at 4, now we are at 5, now we are at 6, now we are at 3.2, now we are at 9.0, if it was 9.8. We have worked so hard to reduce the figures, all right? So that's what we were doing last year. So the best, if I was to comment on this, I would agree, because I don't know what they found. I wasn't there. I would agree that's what they found. Fantastic. From there, what did they do? Have they moved forward? Have they moved backward? What has increased or decreased ever since they took power?
I want you
It's
to tell
correct
me you are
to find
not
what they found.
answering the
It's
question.
very correct. I'm
You are
trying
not
to.
answering the question. No, don't try. The
I'm
question
trying to.
is it logical that you have paid 9.7 trillion within a year? Is it logical?
I don't think he said they have paid the 9 point. He has said
Wamesema
they found.
wamemaliza sasa ndio. No. He said that clearly. I heard him.
Me, I think what I have heard, that's what they found. And because walikuta deni wakang'ang'ana kuilipa, na sasa economy imestabilize, and now from this year, because
Tumemaliza sasa ndio tunaanza kazi. That's what he said.
It's difficult. It's
Jeff,
difficult when you want to be neutral.
When it comes to statistics, you can't waver like this and think that you will win. When it comes to statistics,
I wish
Amesema
Eminem can join
wamemaliza.
me.
I'm asking you
Yeah.
logically, can you finish then your 9.7 within 1 year? That is all I'm asking you, yes or no?
I don't want you to put me in that spot, please.
No, I'm
For one
asking you
reason, I don't know.
You know, because those are numbers.
Yeah, they are numbers.
So numbers speak.
Yes, I want to answer Alex one question there.
Yeah.
Please, just for a minute.
I wanted you to come in and because I don't want to really take
You're extending the show, and we told you long
Let
time
me put my phone on charge for a minute. Okay, Alex.
told you that you are extending the show while we were already being done. You know, we told you long time ago. Courtesy, ukatuambia 30 minutes only. You should keep your word too.
Yeah,
Alex, you'll never be comfortable when I'm around. Why?
We are yet.
No. I don't like you. I don't because you abused one time a woman on the show, and
You don't have to like me. You don't have to like me,
Why are you
Alex.
bringing the issue of liking?
You are saying you don't like me.
The issue of liking. You want me to
You
like
are
you
saying
as a
you don't
woman
like
or
me.
what? Why are you bringing the issue of liking?
You are saying you don't like me. Why you don't like me, I don't know. Are you a woman?
Really? Come on, relax. Let's have a good show.
I have come to the show. And I just want to come with my views.
Let's be
see you another day.
accommodating. Let's listen. Yes,
I'll see you another day.
All right. Yes, Eminem
you.
fighter. Eminem, I'll listen to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jex, the problem with people, we don't want to hear the truth. And the truth of the matter is, the president has been very clear. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. The president was very clear actually when he said they are complaining that he's borrowing more than what they expected, because he said he will never borrow. Then he made it clear that we borrowed to pay the debts which were there, to repay the ones which were paying around 20%. Now the one that we have borrowed, we are only paying 3%. So in that case, is it not fair for one to look at the fact that even if this person has borrowed, he has done something at least to reduce our burden of paying those, the one which was having the higher percentage? In fact, what made me to come here, Jex, not that as such. These guys have been talking about President Ruto disobeying the orders. But when I look back, KMZ was transferred to DOD. Despite the court orders which were in place.
You're right.
Miguna, there were several court orders about Miguna. There was none which was taken into consideration. There was an order from court to appoint the churches. It never saw the light of the day. And these people, the likes of Alex, the reason as why you see they don't want to see me coming here to give my views is because I tell them the truth. They were praising the Uhuru Kenyatta regime and the Baba, saying Hiwe. When we told them that the Baba will never be the president, they were not willing to accept that this is a competitive game, anyone can win. They were certain that Raila Odinga was to be the president, was to win, which was not the case. So let me tell you, James, as far as I'm concerned, the economy is hurting everywhere, not only in Kenya. So let us learn on how to pay our taxes, depend on ourselves. Kulipa ushuru ni kujitegemea.
And you're right. Now, let me ask you this.
Those countries,
yeah.
Let me, while I'm closing down, those countries which we enjoy outside here, living in, seeing good roads, infrastructure, and so on, they were built by the people of those countries. For example, what do you think in the first time when people were told you must pay NSSF? What do you think they spoke? They did. Many of them must have come against that NSSF.
Yeah.
But because the government of that day insisted and the NSSF was put in place, today many people have benefited from NSSF. So the same way this tax for housing levy is being put in such a way that it doesn't look nice. Someday, some people will enjoy the fruits of that. So now I believe that things will work the right way.
And
someday we
that
will enjoy.
I would want to ask you, and I agree with you. The former president Uhuru Kenyatta, equally defied court orders, but William Ruto, if he was to repeat the same, really, will he be doing the right thing, given that at times two wrongs have never made a right? Number two, what happens to the rule of law? What happens to obeying court orders, obeying the set standards, following the constitution that you swore to uphold? Would you still hold your position that Uhuru did it, so there's no really much problem if William Ruto equally would do the same, given that there is some precedence that has already been set?
No, Mr. Jax, I would be very wrong to say that it is okay. It's equally okay for him to disobey the court orders. What I was relaying here, I was trying to say, Alex cannot come out today to be a saint. That yesterday he was on the other side praising evil, and everyone, like now I was listening. I've been listening the arguments over there. The court, the law courts of Kenya are open to any Kenyan, any individual who has an grievances, who has a complaint. So Wentagula is not the exception. He can go to court as a lawyer, he can go to court as a Kenyan, he can go to court and complain of whatever he thinks as a Kenyan citizen. Just the way the president and anyone, even Okio Mutata, and even myself, can face the Supreme Court if I have what I am complaining about. So there is no one who has a limitation. That's my part of argument. That this one should not do.
And Fighter, you're really on point. My question now on that would be,
so on this issue, on your question now, it is very wrong for the president to disobey the orders of court. Only what the president has said, the court, when the court is making the ruling or the judgment, they must make the judgment just for the public good. Like they look at the facts on the matter before them, look at what will be the outcome if we did this, if we disqualify this, what will be the outcome? Is it for the public good or is it for the few? So that's why you see, in as much as these are the political leaders who have their own base of support, they have the way of communicating to their people, but still they are pursuing the issue in the law courts. So when you see them arguing out there, they argue out there as political activists, leaders. I don't think that one changes the stand of the court. To me,
And
I
you're
would
right.
appreciate so much
Fighter,
if they could use the right
I
way.
agree with you. Up
Yes.
to that point, I agree with you. But there's a part that I want to ask you this, where you say that Wentagula, which is you're very quite on order when you say that, in order rather, when you say that he, as any Kenyan, can go to court, right? But can he go to court on a matter that touches the other arm? Of course, he's equally he was equally sued from the first stage, that is from when it was filed at the High Court. But on this matter, where this is solely the executive that has much interest on this matter than even the
No, Jets, you are forgetting that the executive did not come up with this levy issue.
No,
This
they did.
levy thing, and let me just give you this information a bit.
They did. It did not.
No, let me. Okay, let me put across my views.
No, I want us to understand where this is coming from. This levy, what Parliament did and what it's meant to do is come up with laws, right?
Yes.
Now, but what is the origin of this law, or rather, what is the desire that brought all this?
My brother Jex.
Is it
my
not
brother Jex? Yes, it comes from the executive because they have a manifesto to implement.
Correct.
It goes to the parliament for the parliament to make the laws
from the legislature.
To the legislator to make the laws governing or based on that issue. So after it has gone to parliament, it went back to the president to accept. Agree? So what I'm saying here is this. The parliament, in fact, according to the statement I saw on the screen, is that it's not Wentagula alone who has gone to court. It's Wentagula and the parliament. I think something like that. The parliament
and the government. In any case,
wait a minute, has gone to court. Wentagula and the parliament. That's what the statement is saying. If you have it, you know.
All right, I seem to have lost E&M Fighter, but we were having a very interesting debate here at Africa 24. E&M Fighter, are you now okay? Fighter? All right, but let's listen in to who went to court. All right, let's listen in to who truly went to court.
Decision to uphold a high court judgment that declared the Court of Appeal's decision to uphold a high court judgment that declared the controversial housing tax unconstitutional. The Court of Appeal went ahead to stop government from carrying on with collection of the unconstitutional tax in the notice filed Wednesday. Now, Speaker Wentagula said they were aggrieved with the decision of the court, and we get some more from our very own Chemtai Go In.
In the notice, the National Assembly Speaker expressed Parliament's and the government's dissatisfaction with the decision of the three-judge bench delivered on 26 January, stating the intention to appeal the whole decision in the Supreme Court. Last week, Court of Appeal judges Lydia Achode, John Mativo and Mwaniki Gashoka upheld the High Court's decision, declaring the housing tax as unconstitutional, and further declined to extend previous orders granted that allowed the government to continue deducting the housing tax. The judges pegged their ruling on public interest, terming the levy discriminatory, as it only targeted a section of the population, employers and their employees.
The levy shall be at 1.5% of the gross salary of an employee. That covers people who are employed, isn't it? And then the gross income of a person received or accrued which is subject to a levy under paragraph 8. That covers everybody else. Because the court said this law is discriminatory if it only applies to employees. We are okay there? Let me just slow down, isn't it? So now what I'm saying is, to that extent, we can tell the courts we have complied. But then tax has got the second phase. How are you going to collect it? The collection bit is 5. When you go to 5, you realize it talks about an employer.
If you read section 6, the cabinet secretary for the time being responsible for national treasury, don't even read anything further. The next word is may. Whereas section 5, an employer shall. So for the employer and the employee, it is obligatory, it's mandatory because it's shall. But for the non-salaried people, it is giving the cabinet secretary, national treasury, discretion. So may or may not, it doesn't say shall. And that's the gap that the gentleman identifies in law. So actually there actually exists a gap as if you compare section 5 and section 6.
The matter also dominated public hearings on the affordable housing bill, as members of the public questioned why they were being forced to raise monies to construct housing units for individuals who had not given a dime. The Joint Committees of Finance and Housing have since retreated to review the submissions made by members of the public, both orally and through memoranda, before drafting their final report, which will be tabled before the House for debate as soon as it resumes its sittings. Chemutai Goin, Citizen TV.
All right.
Going, thanks.
And that equally we are played because of the facts and submissions of E&M fighters, of which some I truly agree with. And that's why I say this show inakwaya kila mtu. I have no favorites, neither do I have like this person shouldn't, this person should. Issue yetu sote. So and as always, I love all of you equally. Hata mkiwa na mabeef kando, mimi nawapenda nyote. But E&M fight, I'm sure I'll have him soon, and I would want to really pick on that matter that he was trying to explain. All right, but thank you equally, E&M, for making time, and this as well, Bwana Alex and Bwana G. Now, guys, very early in the morning, kuna show ingine ambayo tunakuanga nayo. Hii show nayo inakuwa moja kali. It's not really that early in the morning, but at least in the morning, we look at the newspapers, we look at news-making headlines, we look at many topics that are equally important to our country. And it's another awesome show. We had one in the morning, and tomorrow morning equally we'll have another one. But before even I forget, Friday, wadau. Friday, we have a new show that we have introduced. It premiered last Friday, and we are talking matters of the heart. As much as we do politics and everything else, we still really mind you. And we always make sure that we bring matters that touch on you, matters heart, matters relationship, matters politics, matters economy. That's why we even have that land show that happens every Sunday. I hope you tuned in this Sunday, and this Sunday we still continue with where we left in part 1. Watch part 1, ndio part 2 uweze kusync nayo vizuri. All right, know what it means to own land in Kenya, know what are the processes, the stages, and anything required for you to really, for example, mzaya amekuachia land. How do you go about changing title deeds? Succession. How do you go about it? All right, how do you go inheritance? It's one thing kupewa, it's another thing to change it to your name, it's another thing to change it to your children. All right, how these things zisikusumbue when itakufikia your time. All right, so watch your show. Ya Sunday ni moja fiti, na ya Friday, oh my. Ya Friday ni moto kama pasi. Make sure you watch ya Friday. Hii ya Friday wadau, hii ina slap vizuri, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. With Ann and Maggie and MC Jesse, hawa jamaa wanafanya kazi safi, kazi fiti, kazi moja iko juu. Look at this.
Join us every Friday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. for a captivating journey into the world of love, relationships, and romance. Presented by the dynamic trio Maggie Knox, MC Jesse, and Annie Waweru, Bed of Roses. Promises to be your weekly dose of heartwarming stories, insightful discussions, and expert advice on matters of the heart. Whether you're single, in a relationship, or simply love a good love story, this is the show for you. Don't miss out on the chance to unwind and indulge in the joys and challenges of love, all brought to you by our talented hosts. Tune into Africa 24 every Friday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. and let us guide you through the enchanting world of Bed of Roses. Subscribe now and mark your calendars. You don't want to miss this. See you there.
Aha, kuna vitu watu ukosa, lakini hii hii wadau msihate, hii wadau, you really don't want to miss this one. I'm telling you, hii wadau msikose. Tomorrow morning, bright and early, we have the paper review, and there again, we do it in a nice way. We do it in a way only us can do it, all right? So, tukutane asubuhi, bright and early, where we have a nice discussion. Of course, I'm signing off now, but we meet in the morning to have a nice conversation. But wadau, kindly consider subscribing to Afrique 24. Kimbia hapo YouTube, Kimbia hapo YouTube. Channel ya Kishua, channel ya nguvu, Afrique 24, subscribe, all right? Hit the subscription button and let this be your equal channel for such content. Kimbia YouTube wadau, subscribe to Afrique 24. Subscribe. Let this be your other channel, okay? Your channel among many other channels, Afrique 24. You are all welcome. Here we invite all of you. Kenya Kwanza, karibuni. Azimio, karibuni. Wase wafa diaspora, karibuni. Wase ambao hawana any political affiliation, wanda tuko na vipindi kama hizo, is because hii channel ni ya kila mtu. Kuna wase wapendi politics, you know. Kuna wase wapendi politics. That's why we have such, you'll be asking, why do we have such programs? It's because si kila mtu anataka kuona Jakes the moderator akikuletea stories za politics, all right? That's why tunakuletea vitu kama hizo, all right? Many of you will enjoy our programming. We have more coming. That is just one or two ambazo tumekuundia. Kuna zingine kali. We'll make sure by the time tuko sorted, ama tumeseto, sorry, kila Mkenya ameguzwa na hii channel yako. Channel gani hiyo? Afrique 24. Nyote mnakaribishwa. Hapa ndipo. Hapa ndio nyumbani kwa kila kitu. All right? Welcome and have an interesting time while you peruse through our programmings, our videos, our, search, all right? Karibuni sana. We invite you all. Kama umesubscribe to Mtembei TV, pia unaweza subscribe to Afrique 24. Kimbia hapo YouTube, subscribe to Afrique 24. Umesubscribe, yes, to Kenya News Link, but pia subscribe to Afrique 24. Umesubscribe kwa Leo TV, but pia unaweza subscribe wapi? Kwa Afrique 24. Be part of the family, na hapo ndani unakuta mtu kama Jakes the moderator, unakuta MCJC, unamkuta Ann, unamkuta Nyox, unakuta watu kibao kule ndani. Show fiti zinakuja, and I'm telling you, acha tu. Thank you so much for being part of this evening show. I've been your host, Jakes the moderator. Thank you, my able panelist, E&M fighter, Alex Media, and equally Mr. G for making this a beautiful show. Equally, thank you, Penya Gaka. Our condolences to you and your family in these trying times. We really wish the good God will comfort and really touch you in these hard times. We can never replace the loss. All we can ask God is that void that now you feel, may He fill it with his love, His presence, and His comfort. We feel you at this hour and at these trying moments. We wish you the very, very best. We might not understand what you're feeling, but you're not alone. You are not alone. Me, on behalf of my own family, equally on behalf of Afrique family, and on behalf of the people who subscribe to this channel, the people who comment on this channel, any panelists to join us on this show. We really, really stand with you in this particular hour. All right. Wish you all the best, even in the preparation to bury your mom. I know it's never easy losing a mother. All right. We wish you all the best. It's not easy. We might not be there, but there's a God in heaven who is with you in all the many steps you will go through in this journey. All right. It's well. It's well. It's well. Good day, good morning, good evening. Bye-bye. God bless you.
Tunasonga mbele watu wote wa Jamhuri Kenya yetu. Tunasonga mbele watu wote wa Jamhuri Kenya yetu. Haya sisi sote wananchi tushangilie. Kwa Jamhuri. Kwa Jamhuri. Kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Kwa Jamhuri. Kwa Jamhuri. Kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Mwaka wa 60 umefika, tangu Kenya iwe huru. Mwaka wa 60 umefika, tangu Kenya iwe huru. Haya sisi sote wananchi tushangilie. Kwa Jamhuri. Kwa Jamhuri. Kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Kwa Jamhuri. Kwa Jamhuri. Kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Twaenda mbio. Kenya yaenda mbele. Kwa elimu twaenda mbele. Matibabuni twaenda mbele. Viwandani twaenda mbele. Na mashambani twaenda mbele. Kwa Jamhuri. Kwa Jamhuri. Kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Kwa Jamhuri. Kwa Jamhuri. Kwa Jamhuri Kenya yetu yaenda mbele. Tunajivunia Kenya nchi yetu, kweli yapendeza, kweli yavutia.